Welcome to Two Guys and Mike podcast. I am your host, Jason Thompson. I've got some guests, and I think after their last podcast, we had some really good reviews and really good stuff going on. So it's probably going to become a regular show on its own, not part of the Two Guys and the Mike podcast, but its own little segment on TGM Studios. I'm going to bring in our guests. We have Mr. Adam Defecto here.
Yeah.
And we also have Sean the Great.
Truth, lies, political bullshit.
Here we
Number
go.
one podcast
Here
in
we go
television.
again. Here we go again. But yeah, we had a great show last time. A lot of you guys, reached out and said how much you liked it and how much you thought it was some good banter between everybody. So we decided to do it again. What's going on, guys?
Well, listen, before we start, I want everybody to realize I got the cheap mic and there's no thing behind me.
No, you're in a different
He's
room
authentic.
altogether.
So I'm
authentic.
You're in a different room altogether.
I'm not even here. I'm in a whole nother space. I'm in Tampa, Florida.
That's right.
Stand up.
Well, I got my bathing suit on. I just got the top.
Green screen. Well, we green screened the bathing suit out because you don't want to see that.
No, you
Trust
don't
me, you don't want to see that.
No tan lines.
Banana hammocks.
That's it. How do you feel about that?
He was complaining how much he enjoyed watching the French guys on the beach the whole time. So here he is.
Senor Froggy.
Yeah, they all wear those speedos. Those Frenchmen on the beach is disgusting.
Shit.
But yeah, you were in Florida. How
I was in
cool is
Florida.
that?
It was great. You know what? I told you I hate New York.
Yeah, well,
I really do. I mean, I've been here my whole life, and I've been in Cohoes my whole entire life. It's hard to just pack up and leave. It's hard to say goodbye because, you've been driving through the same potholes for 50 years. You've been driving by the same...
well, you'd think after 50 years you'd know to avoid them.
Well, they were fixed when I was there, but, they're back to being... But the reality is it's hard to leave, but, I'm in the process. I'm looking for a place, and I think I'm going to go to Florida for 6 months and then come up here for 6 months.
Snowbirding it.
Yeah, a little more. I think I'll become a resident down there because it's a lot cheaper once you're a resident.
So 6 months in a day.
So 6 months in one day.
Yep.
I'll stay down in Florida.
So you can hook us up with Disney tickets.
Yeah. I'll sit through them 5-hour condo sales.
No. As a Florida resident, you get cheap Disney tickets for.
Yeah, but you're not going to be a Florida resident. And plus, you gave me a shitty mic and you got me sitting over the dunce chair.
Well,
you're gonna have to pay double.
when you're a rook, you're not a king.
That's a fact.
But I have to say that is probably something that I'm aspiring to do, is being a snowbird. I every year that goes by, I hate winter more and more, and the last couple of weeks has just been brutal. As I see all of my friends are in Florida enjoying the beach and the nightlife.
We did have a real winter this year.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, look, there's truth to the fact, and I'm not afraid to say it. There is a depression that people get.
Yeah.
And I get it.
It's a lack of sunshine.
I really do. I get depressed. I sit home in my house. I look outside. It's dark. It's damp. It's raining. It's snowing. It's just no fun. There's nothing you can do. You get down to Florida, 75, 80 degrees.
Always action going on.
Always action. If I wanted to go out 4 times a day to something different, I could have.
Yeah.
I'm a little old now, so I was in, it's bed and meds by 8, so you can feel better than
Bed med, yeah.
Bed meds by
When are
8.
they coming?
Yeah, when are the meds getting here?
Yeah, well,
it's a little past 8 o'clock. I was looking forward to
We're
that.
not in Florida.
Oh, okay.
But it's really a
But
whole
but
different-
think how much we bitch though. We have the dog days of summer, which is middle of August, hot and humid and just ass crack dying of heat. And then we complain about
the hell's ass crack dying heat.
when your freaking ass crack is sweating so goddamn
Well, it
much, you
doesn't
get
sweat,
chafing.
You get the things that I wear.
Well,
If you were to-
depends don't count, man. Depends don't count. But then
Steady
wintertime,
breeze.
we complain the wintertime blues. We're never happy.
You get 3 months. You get 3 months. I open up
Yeah.
my pool, cost me $300. I swim in it about 15 times, and then I got to put the cover back on. That cost me $300. And then after the summer's done, you sit in the house, and what do?
Yeah.
You do
You
shit.
know, it's funny. We own a house on a lake.
Well,
so,
of course.
So I
told you where the money's at.
oh god, I'm so sick of your mouth. Anyways, so so I have a boat, obviously.
Oh, just a
I'm
boat.
on a. Well, if you're on a lake, do as the Romans, man. So, but I look at people that have boats that don't live on a lake. You're like, God, why do you have a boat? What do you use it 3-4 times a year tops?
A
My son-
kayak.
And the only reason why I could justify having a boat is because I have a house on a lake.
Absolutely.
Because if not, you're just spending tons and tons of money and it just sits there.
My son bought a boat, and I said,
What
to
do you
him,
buy?
Well, this is about 6 or 7 years ago. I'd have no idea because I never bought a boat. I wouldn't waste my money. But I said to him, I think there's a saying that says,
What the?
The first day,
You know, we can't talk anymore.
the first day you buy the boat's the happiest. The second day is when you sell
Well,
it,
yes.
right? Because he doesn't live on the lake.
Well, you know what boat stands
And
for?
It
Break
is
out
the
another 1,000.
worst- It is the worst investment you can make.
Yeah.
And he's a young kid.
Well, it's not an investment; it's an expense, pal.
It's fun. It's
Oh,
fun.
You know, and if you got to work 40 hours a week, you get a weekend. If it rains, you know, by the time it's like having a pool. I used to say to my kids, I really don't want to spend this kind of money on an above ground pool or an in ground pool. I don't want to buy a pool, and I end up getting the in-ground pool.
Well, you can get a heater for it.
I got a heater.
Extend
for it.
your.
Here's
your
what I got. I got a heater. I got a salt system. Every other year the heater breaks. Every other year the salt system's not working.
and he says we know where the money is. In-ground pool with a heater here.
I bought it.
Government.
Yeah, government money.
Government.
I bought it when I worked for the government. Good thing Doge wasn't around back then.
Oh Jesus! Don't say that too loud. Let me edit that out because we don't know who's listening.
No, but you definitely have to utilize it. Like I had a buddy, and
It's like a camper.
yeah, he had his boat on Sacandaga in one of these places where you have cable and water and everything hooked up.
Yep.
Friday after work, he would zoom out and live on that boat until Monday morning, and he'd go to work, and that's just what he did every single week throughout the summer.
I tell you, I don't know. I really look forward to being on the boat. It's one of my. I work for the weekend to go boating.
Yeah, I got friends of mine that are just like your friend. I mean, they're on that boat every single day. They sleep there, they eat there, they have, you know. I don't know how you can afford it, but you know, let's move on. I'm tired of you rich people.
Well, he shouldn't have worked in government then.
He did. He did vacate the state. and-
Yeah, really. As he just came back from a vacation in Florida where he enjoyed cocktails and beautiful women as we sat here in the cold working every day.
I did
Shoveling.
my podcast. I was at a kitchen table doing a podcast thinking about you guys.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to do it last Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah, no, I get on.
Jason.
I get on. I'm like, are we doing the podcast? And all of a sudden, oh, look at him. He's at a fucking goddamn bar, and it's nice and 80, and he's like videotaping a band playing, hanging out with his favorite people. I'm like, this freaking guy.
He ain't coming.
Hawaiian shirt
He
unbuttoned.
ain't coming to the
8
podcast.
o'clock, I'm in bed. You know, I'll tell you a funny story. So there's this one bar, and it's a pretty much a dive bar, but they're the funnest bars.
They're the best ones. And there's a lot in Florida. dive
Yeah,
bars.
there's a lot of them, but it opens at 7 in the morning.
Oh yeah, you tell us. About
Yeah,
that.
and it stays open till 2 at night. So you can imagine, right? And so one day I'm down there and I'm getting some drinks, and the lady said to me, "Don't buy them one at a time. Buy the bucket. You know, happy hour. It's cheaper." I said, "Well, I'm not going to be here for happy hour." She goes, "What do you mean? I'm not going to be here at 5 o'clock?" She goes, "Happy hour started at 10:30."
In the morning.
Needless to say, I was bed and meds by 8.
That's his line tonight. Bed and meds.
Yeah,
Bed, med. Bed.
Obviously, we're past his bedtime. That's all you can think
It's
about.
only when you're down Florida. You go out drinking at 7 in the morning. You're in bed by 8 o'clock. There's no hangovers.
Yeah, you sleep
When in
well.
Rome.
You
Yeah.
sleep more. You know, you're passed out for
So a lot of times when we go to Florida, we go to the Orlando area, Kissimmee, Davenport, all around Disney because my wife and I and the kids love that area. And what I love is that, unlike here, at 8 o'clock, everything's still open. Here, 8 o'clock, everything's closed.
Yeah.
And there's always a car show going on, bands playing. There's always music festivals. It's lively. It's action. It's excitement.
it doesn't stop.
Yeah, and I thankfully in the summertime we get a little bit of that, but the 6 months of not having anything after really 7 o'clock, it really blows.
It drives you
And people are genuinely happier.
Yes.
I mean, you get the crazies too. The,
Oh,
sun-
that's
Get crazy no matter
the
what.
sunshine does bring out the crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a bad experience when I was down there this time.
Just this past time?
Yeah.
Please do tell.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
You know, I was a firefighter my whole freaking life, right? So I've seen a lot of bad things in my life, but we're driving there's not like driving through Cohoes, right? Or Waterford, one road, right? Everything's 6 lanes,
Yeah, highways.
6 lanes highways, right? So me and my uncle,
I'm sorry. What part of Florida did you go to?
I was down by Tampa.
Okay.
I wasn't up in Orlando with the rich folk. I was down a little
Oh
further.
my God.
So we were driving,
I can't take it.
and I'm just looking. I see this guy crossing the street, and I said to myself, "This guy's going to get hit by a car." And within 1 second, the one in
Boom.
front of us, 60 miles an hour, hit the guy over the top of the car, right lane in the middle of the road, right in front of our car.
Did you hit him?
No, we just missed hitting him though. We had a turn. I mean, he was wrecked. I got out of the car. You know, being a fireman all these years, I went over to see if he was breathing to make sure that there was nothing I could do. I don't have no. He was breathing, but he was in major trouble. Firehouse was, you know, if God's watching him, the firehouse was about 4 minutes away. So
Took him a half an hour to get there because of traffic.
They were fast, man. There was 6 cops, firefighters, all there with and an ambulance. They're separate down there, I guess. And they had him packaged and brought back. But, you know, you don't expect to be going to Florida having a good time and seeing some body flying over the top of the car.
I hate to tell you, and my wife's going to testify to this, every time we've gone, we've always either come up to, seen, or drove by a fatal motorcycle accident.
Yeah,
Every freaking time. I feel like the Grim Reaper.
No, if there's
terrible.
If there's one thing bad about Florida, it's the driving.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, down there,
You go on 95. They're crazy on
fly,
95.
yeah.
Well, they're flying on every road. This road where this guy got hit was 55 miles an hour, right? And he's crossing 3 lanes over here. I could see.
Well, they cross at the dumbest places too.
Well,
it's like
he must.
come on.
I think he must have been drinking or something. But
or something.
when I seen it, I just knew it. And
Well, what time of the day was it?
it was 8:00 at night.
Well, there you go.
I was on my way to
happy hour.
get to bed. Yeah, it was. They knew who he was. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
You know, but
Probably the town
regardless,
drunk.
you know,
Yeah,
I felt
still.
bad for the guy. But
Did you ever Google it, see if there was a fatality or anything?
yeah, at the time, I couldn't find nothing. I didn't.
Hopefully no news
You
is
know,
good
my
news.
aunt was really concerned, and you know, I got to be honest with you. It may sound screwed up, but you know, you lose your soul after 28 years doing my job.
Yeah.
I really, there was times you question your own, you know, humanity. Like you don't have no more feelings. You're like emotionless. To me, death is death. Everybody's got to die. Oh well, he got hit by a car. Yeah, I say a prayer for the guy, but you know, why other people are like just the next devastated. I'm just like, this.
I worked for a home healthcare company for 11 years, and of course, seeing people die all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, so sometimes I would be waiting in the driveway to pick up our equipment because I'm waiting for the coroner to leave. That's how bad it was at times. I walked in on one time where the woman was dead on the floor, and I'd call my boss and say, "Hey, you know, so and so passed away. You want to call the family? I'll come back." So, death, like you said, you kind of become numb to it almost, and to the point where my wife one time, it was a close relative that passed away, and I showed very little emotion, and she's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right." She goes, "Yeah, aren't you upset?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
But it didn't. It's part of it, you know.
Yeah. I remember the first times that I seen it.
I was devastated.
Well, I was
first
devastated.
couple of
Young
PTSD or something.
Well, the first couple times you see it,
you always want to go to the funeral for Christ's sake.
you want to go to the funeral.
Yeah.
You see it for weeks afterwards, especially if it's somebody young. And then the longer you work there, the more people. You know, I went to old folks' homes, you know, 1,000 times. I watched people who I'd known for years and years, and then you go, and they'd actually be dead at this time, right? You'd get called, you'd go, I'm dying. I go, you're not dying. Geez, I've been here 50 times. And then the one
They
time,
die.
well, then, you know, they eventually die.
And you kick yourself. You're like, God damn, I should have sped up coming here.
You just realize that life is fragile. Everybody has their day. You don't know when it's going to be. So live your life. Go to Florida. Have a good time. Go to California. Go wherever the hell you want.
Yeah, to your point, though, I was a volunteer fireman. And
Sorry to hear about that.
I enjoyed it. I loved it, actually. But you talked about you coming up in the scenes or things that stick in your head. I remember the first motor vehicle accident I came to that was pretty nasty. And it was somebody that I knew. And she happened to recognize me. And she's like, help me.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. And I still, to this day, I'm going back probably 40 years now, where I can still see that vividly in my mind. Where she's
There's
like
things that I
asking for
see.
help and,
There's things
you
I
know.
see in my mind.
Thankfully, she lived and everything worked out good. But
There's
still,
things that will never leave
Yeah.
your mind. You just have to find a place to
you
put
box
it.
it, compartment.
Yeah,
As my dad say, compartmentalize your.
There's a spot in your
thoughts.
heart deep down inside where it's dark, man, and you just push that shit down there because otherwise, you know, how the hell would you do the job?
Yeah, it's.
I had PTSD after my first son was born, and that was bringing life into this world. That was a scene.
you know, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
I want to jump into another topic. Forget about all this death shit. I feel like I'm dead all winter long at this place.
You look dead, actually.
Actually, before we do, did you ever see that video of like the old World War II veteran? And he's talking about his story, and he's like, He's just like laughing about like the shit.
All his friends dying and shit blowing
about,
up.
like, the things and the deaths he's caused, and like,
Yeah.
and he's just like, yeah. So
Whatever.
I shot him.
I shot him.
I got rid of him. But I realized, well, everybody realizes, but the more I search Facebook, because I use it for my own podcast, right? I want to see what nitwits are saying, and it's my own Democrats, because I'm still a Democrat. So,
Can't believe you admit that.
well, I hold out hope that.
Although, did you hear what he said today? He's complaining about his portfolio here. He talks about us being rich. Complaining about his portfolio that if it keeps going, he's going to go back to becoming even bluer
I got
Democrat.
I got to look like Papa Smurf if
Jesus.
If Trump keeps killing my 401k, I won't be going to Florida.
It's all by design. Star. Go
Gotta tear it
invest in
down
metals.
before you build it up.
Invest in
But
metals now.
I was watching all these people on Facebook, and I must have looked at 500-600 comments, right? And I realized that people in this country are so ignorant to the shit that goes on in this country.
100%.
That stuff that's been going on forever, and Trump makes a change to it or does something, and they think that he
Screaming.
did it, and they start yelling and screaming. They write these long posts, and I go, what a bunch of morons. And it was about Donald Trump saying that he was going to have a $5 million gold card. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself,
That's been going on for years.
well, I'm thinking to myself, that's a great idea, because right now they have the EB5, which is the very same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's for businesses. This ain't for individuals.
No.
An individual ain't paying for it. It's a business, right? But what is the EB5? That's the same thing, right?
It's an investor visa.
It cost about $200,000 for the application.
Sure.
Then you got to have $1 million to put into a business. And then if you do those things, you have access to getting some green cards, probably for your family, but also people to come work for your business. That's been a scam forever. It's kind of like the idea.
A lot of countries do it to try to bring money
A lot
in.
of countries are doing the big one, because the EB5 is easy to scam, right? A guy with wealth fills out the application, pays the $200,000, gets over here. He's now, already here, and he ain't putting no money into the business. He ain't hiring 10 people, which is
No, he figures out a way to get USAID to give him the money to build his own business.
So Trump is simply saying, I'm going to kind of like rework that program and scrap it a little. I'm going to give you got to have $5 million. You can bring your business over. You can get some green cards for your employees and whoever, and it will fill a gap of money we lose here in the United States. And they're writing these things, Trump selling the country, and I'm thinking to myself, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, the problem is, Sean, what I don't understand is the same people that are going to bitch like this are the ones that are going to be crickets on all over all this wasted money we've sent abroad and all these freaking programs and these transgender this and circumcisions that and EV charging station this, DEI that. Trillions of dollars. It just came out now that the Doge Committee, some of that money that we sent to Ukraine for the war went to pay Ukrainian models to go on pageants in Paris. Our money.
Perfect.
It makes no sense.
I am very happy that they're doing this, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't like the way they're doing it. I think Elon Musk and his team should only because it doesn't bother me, but for the people who have like the belief that he's a crook and he's doing all this shit and it's a lie, I wish what they would do is they'd go get all the information, and then they would have some based on what they provide, and then they send out the emails. They do all of the talking. Somebody from the governmental official. Then you could just say, hey, Elon Musk's team finds it, they give it to the president, and the president disseminates the information out. And this is what's going on.
I do wish they did a little more of that, and that Elon Musk would take kind of a secondary role, especially publicly, because I think he is getting all the backlash, which may be by design. I don't know.
Well, I bet you it is by design.
Maybe because he has a whole lot of I don't give a fuck money.
Oh yeah.
So he don't care. Although if you're a shareholder in Tesla, you're not very happy with Elon Musk right now. But
He is the Department of Defense highest paid contractor.
is he really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, because he's launching rockets.
I
in
just
the
had an
air.
argument
It's
with
not,
it.
it's not really. It's not really. Well, the thing is, he's a contractor. He's not getting free money. He's providing a service.
The man is, I said to this person, I go, I hate to call you this, but you're a moron.
There are a lot of
The
morons.
guy is building the rockets for the United States of America. In fact, you don't want him to know your social security number, but he has the highest security clearance in the country.
Plus, he owned PayPal. He had everybody's social security numbers.
Oh yeah.
But he, yeah,
That's what he said,
he
too.
had
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
So
just
if I wanted it, I could have got
You know,
it.
prior to Elon Musk creating SpaceX, the United States did not build rocket engines. We used to get those from China.
that's what I'm saying.
So, because of him, manufacturing is starting to come back and
he
is
figured out
coming
how to
back
reuse 'em.
and reuse them.
So-
I mean, look at here he is. He's launching rockets in the sky, and they come and get caught by spatulas and
man,
everything
right,
else.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
we're
But
gonna
that's
catch
what
this
I'm
rocket, and people are calling him an idiot. Come on,
People
I'm
are
sick of that crap.
They don't sit back and analyze shit. They just respond. That's the biggest problem with Facebook, right? I used to say, there's-
Keyboard warriors.
yeah, there's so many tough guys that would never say that to my face, wanting to beat me up on Facebook.
And how many are actually real?
right? Well,
Bots.
again,
A lot of bots.
A lot of bots.
a lot of people are just ignorant to what really goes on because we just live our lives.
Yeah.
Most people don't know anything about the government. You just go live your life, right? And then all of a sudden, because this is such a big topic and Trump is such a like a polarizing figure, and Elon Musk is probably got some kind of autism because he does act like he's a fucking moron at times.
Listen,
But
he
the guy
is
proves
definitely a
He's a
savant.
super
Yeah.
genius.
But he's a brilliant guy.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I wish, just for the sake of trying to like shut up the Democrats and make it look more professional, because it does look a little unprofessional, right? He's out there with the chainsaw. And,
So
Well,
that was
a gift. Yeah.
that was a stupid. That was a stupid move.
to me, that's stupid, right?
Yeah, it was dumb.
I know that for some people they go, "Oh, it was funny." To me, it was like, look at he look.
Yeah. That was a gift from the Argentinian president.
He should do exactly what he said is not take a back seat, but let him do all of the logistics and let somebody who's a little more polished come out and say, today this is what we found. It's posted on the website. This is what we're going to do. And I don't know if I'm such a big fan of like snapping your finger and firing all these people.
Well, there's a lot to it. I mean, for one, those same people that are upset about it probably don't even know that Trump and Elon didn't create Doge.
No,
That was created by Barack Obama.
it was created by Obama. A different name, though, wasn't it?
They renamed it
Right. I mean,
and fired everybody that was.
First of all, every president has had some kind of
government efficiency.
yes. Although they suck at it,
Well, that's because it's a money laundering.
it is.
Well, I mean, if you just look at the budget that they just put out, they're doing all these tax breaks, yet they haven't diminished any of the expenses.
yeah.
So
Right.
it's, we're back to deficit spending.
Here's the problem with the Democrats. They can't.
Well, they're Republicans as well. I have to say both.
I'm saying
Rhinos are the worst.
Yes.
The Democrats can't get out of their own way. All they do is come out and try to frighten you. Oh, they're cutting Medicaid. Oh, they're cutting food stamps. Well, I believe there's probably people out there that shouldn't have Medicaid, Medicare, or food stamps, right? Yeah. I know for a fact when I was in the county government, Mike Connors was the county comptroller, and he used to do these things where people would be getting their EBT cards with $500, and they'd be selling them down at the store for $150.
Yeah.
And the guy who's got $80,000 jobs using his benefits to buy their groceries.
Or they go in and they buy their groceries, return them, get the money.
Yes,
and
there's-
go in and buy beer and cigs and everything.
I remember there was a small butcher right here in Waterford, and premium cuts of meats you sell by the boxes, and here they were accepting EBT cards there. Why is somebody on EBT buying food at a premium meat store?
I'm not opposed to people
Sorry.
having help. Because you know what? I was raised poor in the projects, okay? Single mother, eating that yellow cheese that I can't ever smell to this day.
Love that yellow cheese.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't love it if
Government cheese.
Yeah, if that's all you ate for 20 years.
Yeah, probably not, right?
But you know what? My mother used to say to me, hey, don't be embarrassed that we're getting a helping hand because we're going to get up from this and we're going to be better.
Well, that's actually exactly what it's created
Right.
for.
Be embarrassed if your mother's telling you that we're eating this 10 years from now
Yeah, yeah.
because then we're not trying.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. So I've always been a strong supporter of the poor people, single moms. When I was in the county legislature, that was my whole reason for running.
Well, speaking of Medicaid, did you see what our esteemed governess, dictatoress,
Dictatoress.
what she's doing with Medicaid now?
She's doing, no, what is she doing?
She's trying to take away like the 600 individual providers for Medicaid and put it to one out-of-state provider.
Out of state, no less.
Out-of-state provider, and it's basically going to take away like all the home health care for all these seniors. And
Cuomo.
so they talk about these things, and then look what they do.
Yeah, well, they're all phonies. That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. The arguments that they make are not real. They're just there to scare you. Like there's people on Facebook going, "Oh, they're going to take away food stamps." No, they're not. No. Look at, I don't give a shit if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. You all have to win elections, and every one of you have people who need food stamps in your district, and you're not going to take it away. I used to say all the time, I'm going to tell you who's going to control the world, the poorest people, because when they have so many benefits given to them and they become the biggest population.
Well, that's what New York has right now.
Right, you can't mess with them because they all say, you know what? The people getting the benefits that we pay for are bigger than the people paying for them.
Why do you think they want to get rid of the Electoral College and go for a popular
That's right,
vote?
because that blocking vote of people who get all those benefits, they come out, you're in trouble.
Well, I think to your point, Sean, the reason why New York State has a harder and harder time coming up with a budget every year is because the people that have money are saying, "Screw it, I'm not paying anymore. I'm moving," and they leave. And the people that have realized they can vote themselves a paycheck and vote themselves benefits are the only ones staying. So what happens is the state has a harder and harder time making a budget because there's too few people giving in.
They also waste.
Well, of course. That's universal. We know that.
We do need a Doge here.
Look at.
Did you see DeSantis is doing a Doge in Florida?
I hate Cuomo, right? I mean, I hate the guy with a passion.
He's going to run for New York City,
Well, he's talking about it tonight. I hate the guy. Here he is fondling women and killed all these people in nursing homes. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He's got a responsibility to those deaths, right?
The views expressed by one of the moderators is strictly a view.
Hey, listen, he's a Republican. Look at there was
Does not reflect the views of the channel.
There was a congressional investigation to him that got squashed, okay? And why nobody here can say with absolute fact they died because of him, you can say with absolute fact he put people with COVID into nursing homes who were the most vulnerable people.
And then he got the numbers on the screen.
And then he got up in the morning.
Well, we got to watch the words we use because the censors will come in and knock this feed off. So
I've never had nobody.
We have.
You have?
Yeah.
What are they gonna knock you off for?
Because we use the jab word.
Oh, I didn't say that. You did.
No, you said COVID. So.
Well, you can say COVID.
Now you said it.
You see, it's a vicious cycle. I'm just saying we got to watch how we say it because these censors.
The pen. You can't.
The
say
pen.
You
Yeah,
can't say
the pen.
poke. But what I'm saying is
the hokey pokey.
Cuomo is not a good man. He's a politician who cares nothing about people.
See, I had a lot of high hopes for him when he first came.
I knew him
when he first came. I really.
I want to fight him and his brother.
I don't know. Fredo's pretty tough.
So ain't I.
The grass is always greener on the other side, but I would probably take him over Hochul.
Yeah. I could take Hochul too.
No. He means
I would take
him as a governor. Jesus.
Because the bottom line is, I think
Hochul's worse than Cuomo. I thought
she's nasty.
Look at the moral of the story.
Nasty
The
woman.
governor of the state never puts anybody in second that's smarter and better than they are. They always put the cuckoo bird in, the dummy. That's what she was. She was supposed to just go around, deliver his messages.
Yeah, but she's the one who probably bumped
Well,
him
there was actually a meme of that. It said it was a meme of Barack Obama. He goes, I got to pick somebody dumber for my VP. And you see, obviously, Biden. Then Biden's president. I got to pick somebody dumber than me as a VP. Kamala Harris. Then she's there. I got to pick somebody dumber than me. And then there's Tim Walz. So it's kind of, to your point.
They never want to be showed up. They don't want somebody smarter than them. They want somebody who's going to say, I'm really happy to be in second, and I'll do whatever you ask. And that's what they do. They
Although
go around.
I don't know, man. I think Donald Trump broke that cycle because I think J.D. Vance is wicked smart.
Yeah, well, that's why you
And I also think that putting Elon Musk in the mix, I mean, it just goes to show he's comfortable with himself.
There's a difference.
And back to your point, though, about how you wish how they would go about things differently. I think that's the whole point of all of this is to flip the apple cart. Like, we are not doing things the way they've always done. We don't want to be smiled at and told a lie. Like, we want the truth.
Oh,
We
Trump
want-
is the
yeah, we
apple
want-
cart
like,
upsetter.
people are just so done with, the bread and circus. I think it's so many
Well,
people have
Is
woken
it sour?
up.
Sourdough?
You do
It's
realize
Tasty.
you do
good for the gut.
realize that there'll always be a close to 50-50 split. This is a religion. People who believe in God, and no matter what you say, they'll never stop believing God. And there's a whole group that believe in the devil, and they believe in that there's no God or whatever they believe opposite.
How do you believe in the devil if you can't?
I'm just saying you're not going to get. No, I'm saying there's people that
The split in political
Right.
parties.
right.
the political party is a religion, man. I don't give a
And
shit.
the problem is, you listen to a Democrat talk, and most Democrats, because obviously you're a Democrat, but I think
I'm an angry
you
Democrat.
align yourself more centrist than most. But
Center left.
Center left.
I look at some of the guys that are on our feed, and I just don't know how they think like that. How do you come up with these thought processes? How do you look at some particular instances and say, yes, illegal immigration is great, or yes, massive amounts of spending on DEI is good, or yes, woke agenda is great for schools? How do you process that in your head?
Well,
I don't understand.
I think that's what I'm trying to say indirectly.
Well, why don't you say it more
Maybe I
directly,
didn't-
because I'm losing you.
Maybe I didn't say it correctly. They are not looking at those things to process.
They're looking at
They
the
are
D.
simply looking at
The D.
the Democrat,
Yeah.
and they're supporting and fighting for the D. And these guys are supporting and fighting for the R. And it doesn't matter where you and I and all of us who fall in the middle, who can look at shit and not be swayed by either side, can go, wow, how the hell can you say that the border? How the hell can you say transgenders should, you and I rationalize. The three of us here can rationalize.
Yeah, but I have friends that can't
No, they
rationalize like
can.
that.
They
Come
can.
on.
They can, but they're stuck. They're stuck. I've been in politics for a really long time. I sat in the back room with these people. I watched how, even on the local level, they were sending letters to somebody saying your husband's screwing his neighbors so he wouldn't.
No, she's not.
You
No,
know,
she's not.
That's what I'm saying. And I would be looking at these people going, what are you doing? Are you really going to do that over politics?
They do.
It is terrible. And then it happened to me, so I know all too well,
Yeah.
right? But
I think the numbers are massively skewed, though. I think majority of the country is in the right direction, but because the media, the media is changing.
The media manipulates.
You
They always
got
have
the
been.
Joyless Reed that just got.
Oh, that wasn't that great.
Rachel.
Joy Reid losing her job. I mean, I don't want anybody to lose their jobs, but God, that was like,
I hate this.
woohoo, baby.
Rachel Maddow.
Cut down to part time. Half her staff has gotten rejected.
Exactly. What's his name?
Lester Holtz just
Holt.
retired.
What was that deal? I know the other.
Seems weird.
That's
Same
a,
thing.
That's
They're
a,
just-
well, he was.
They have no
it's-
numbers.
Yeah, but it's just weird
People
that
don't
he.
watch.
yeah, but you need to understand something.
But
Fox isn't all Democrats or all Republicans. There's a lot of Democrats that watch Fox that still don't vote for Fox. They had this poll out there that says, "Yeah, I watch Fox more, and I watch because I want to see what these assholes are doing."
It is the highest rated cable
Yeah. It is.
in the country. It's like,
You know why? Because they have all those good-looking anchors.
They do.
but even then, like after 2020, what's her name went on the board of Fox. They made a whole bunch of changes. Who was the one that was on the airplane with Clinton? They got.
Well, which one? What airplane?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, right. That's coming out.
That,
No, she was on like on the tarmac, and they had,
yeah,
like,
I forget who it was, but she was on there, and they
Yeah.
she was.
so she became like a top echelon in Fox News. Like they did a whole bunch of like changes, and Fox went way downhill.
Well,
after
this
that, too.
here is changing the world.
Yes.
Podcasting, right?
Real talk.
The mainstream media has lost all kinds of people because you can't believe a word they say because you realize these are not journalists. These are talk show hosts.
They're actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at Michael Steele. All right, he was a RNC chairman under Bush and I think Trump's first term. He sounds like a flaming liberal.
They're giving him $3 million to be
Crazy. What an idiot that man is.
When you have no morals, you
Yeah,
can, you can get bought out.
It's crazy.
I mean, if somebody came to you and said, "I'm going to give you $5 million a year, you're just going to side with us," and here's
Show me the money.
right.
Yeah,
And
show me the money.
These are not like coming we have no script here. We're three guys just throwing out a bunch of shit that comes to our mind, and it's fun, and we're talking about a lot of stuff. Everything they talk about script. You know, they got that big TV in front of them. They ain't talking from their heart.
That's why they let go of Tucker.
Yeah.
He was the highest rated cable, news show in the country, and he just wouldn't. He questioned everything.
Yeah. And he'll have one. Look at a couple weeks
You
ago.
got to fix your mic there.
Check.
You keep doing this like this.
Well,
A couple weeks ago.
follow it with me.
A couple weeks ago, he beat Joe Rogan on a podcast.
Did he really?
Yeah.
On a podcast.
On not everyone, but on
Yeah,
that
no.
week, he beat Joe Rogan.
Well, if
I like
it's
listening.
one,
Rogan's got like 40 million a week.
Yeah. Well,
Well, the funny thing with Rogan, though, I mean, and I think the reason why, and it shows that, is he doesn't just do politics. Rogan will talk about anything and everything, which I think is
he's
great.
got millions of dollars behind him.
Sure, but what I'm saying, his content
He's got a
isn't
broad spectrum.
Yeah.
huge. And one day he'll be talking about the woolly mammoth to aliens.
Well,
so
That woolly mammoth dude is awesome.
yeah. So and then Tucker kind of really sticks to politics.
you
pretty
can
much.
do that when you have the money and people will come in and talk to you about things.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't have the audience, first of all, you have to capture people. Tucker captures all the people who like politics.
Yes.
Now, if tomorrow he started talking about Johnny Appleseed, people would watch. And if he started talking about UFOs, they would watch and they would start to grow. You know, it's like a small podcast like us. I started out with just like 5 people watching. You know what I mean? It took a year and a half. We finally have enough people where I can say, well, we got a decent show.
Yeah.
Same thing's going to happen here because I think we're pretty good. I think people like listening to us. I think the people that hate me watch me more.
Maybe I need to be an asshole because not
wanna
enough
see the car
not enough
crash,
people
right?
don't like me then.
Yeah, I bet you Cuomo's watching because he knows I can't stand it. But I want to get back to that Cuomo.
I know you do. You want to freaking.
No, I'm just
Rail on him.
he's going to win. In
Oh,
New
he
York.
is. He's gonna win New York.
Probably.
Because that is how fucked up the people in New York City are. They don't care about what he's done, what he'll do.
They want a Democrat in charge.
And this is how desperate they are. Jeffries today, Akeem Jeffries, right?
Oh, the rapper.
Yeah.
Is that the rapper?
No, he's
the
Democratic
Democrat minority leader.
Yeah, he can't. He talks like this. If the bus, he can't talk without his hands, and everything's like, I can't stand watching him. But he praised
Vote
Cuomo.
for me.
Yeah, he praised Cuomo today.
Wow, what's up, Clinton?
Yeah, so I know that's where they're heading. He praised him.
Yeah.
How do you praise the guy?
Who's the rapper that won downstate? He beat out like Molinaro or somebody.
I have no idea. I don't.
He's in Congress.
I really
in the
don't
Senate.
follow New York politics that much.
Anywho.
I have no interest in New York politics.
But-
My vote means nothing in New York.
Back to your point, though, about New York City, because I've been down there recently, and it just blows my mind. And connecting back to the earlier point of Florida and people crossing the street and stuff, the way these people just they don't even look to see if a car's coming. They just
Yeah.
people with little kids.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
no value of life. Hit me. You know.
Well,
what I
thank
mean?
God
Like,
there's
it's
so
just-
many
it's
cars.
Crazy.
Everybody's only doing about 4 miles an hour. It takes you about 16 hours to get 12 blocks because they're like this.
Yeah.
And
How do they get out of those parking spots too?
I don't know.
They're literally parked that close.
But back to my friend, Mr. Cuomo.
Oh, him.
Well, he keeps rubbing
No,
back over
because
there.
because when I look at all of the things that are wrong in New York right now, he caused them. He's the one who pushed.
His father caused it.
Well, he's the one who pushed.
Father started all this bullshit.
No, yeah, but Cuomo, he's the one who pushed for all these laws that allowed for raise the age and allowed for bail reform and allowed for all this other bullshit, right? All this crime is directly related to him. He may not be here no more, and the rest of the morons continue to push his agenda. But go back and see who started the gay marriage. Go back and see who started the raise the age, and look, and you'll see his name on all of that stuff. So everything bad in New York City, where people are getting pushed in front of the
They
subway.
just pick up one puppet after the
Yeah,
next.
everybody in New York City knows that this guy started the ball rolling on all of these policies that they're screaming about.
Well, remember, hold on. You also have to realize, too, is that there's no Republican that has thrown their hat in the ring in as of yet.
Well, you had look.
So right now everybody's talking Cuomo, because there's nobody against
Republican
them
ain't
right
gonna win.
I don't know. I bet you're gonna see one of the Trumps.
How much you want to bet? I'll bet you your lake house versus my boat.
You don't have a vote.
Any Republican.
I remember what you said. When you talk about votes, I remember.
But-
I don't know. I think we're at a situation now where I think a Republican could probably win New York City.
If New York State was broken up city and the rest of us, yes,
Yeah.
I think it could happen.
And Long Island,
New York-
separate
yeah,
them.
Well, no, New York City's only New York
And-
City
and
as
New
far
York
as the
City-
mayor's vote.
Nah, New York City's
I mean,
carries everything
And New
because
York's-
people go out and vote. You look
They
at
do.
upstate and look at the rest of the state. Nobody even votes. For Christ's sake, the amount of
No,
people.
I'm talking about voting
They
for
have
mayor,
been,
not
though.
no, voting for a statewide election. I'm saying for mayor. I think only New York City votes
Yes,
for mayor,
for
but
mayor, yeah.
I think we're in a situation if the cards are worked correctly in the next couple of years to the Trump administration. I think if there's any time in history, there's no better one than now for a Republican to take New York City.
I don't see it.
It's got to get bad enough for him to want.
It is bad. Jesus Christ, everything's
Yeah,
bad
but
in the
there's-
city.
The ignorance is.
Yeah, but you just said what you reiterate what I just said. The guy who's going to announce his candidacy is the one who caused all of these problems. And it's almost like he's such a pompous prick that he's going to walk in like, I had nothing to do with none of this. Go look at, just do some
Yeah, but
research.
you want people to be educated on what
I do
people
want
think.
people to be
People
educated.
are not gonna be
I understand that. I just said that in the beginning of the show. Most people don't even know what goes on in America.
But they'll tell you what the baseball game is, and they'll tell you
Well,
who the best
they'll
pitcher
tell you what
is.
the
But they have no
politics is.
idea
Fred
who.
Circus.
Yeah, they have no idea. It's a Hail Caesar is what's happening.
They're going to argue with you over politics, and they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, ask anybody who's their elected representatives. They have no freaking clue, but they're gonna sit there and argue with you.
And that's quintessential for politics in general. They cause a problem and then they come in with a solution to the problem. That
Well, they
caused.
caused the
They gotta
problem.
justify their work, their job. It's like code enforcement. If there was no codes, you don't have an enforcer.
If you and I
Some
worked,
bad contractors out there too, though.
if you and I worked for,
I'd rather have bad
the
contractors
government,
than code enforcement.
let's just say you were the governor, or you were the mayor, or you were the supervisor.
That'd be great.
If you ever used your employees to help you write a book while they're working, you'd go to jail. You'd go to prison. You can't utilize workers who are being paid by the taxpayer
During an event.
during work hours to help you write your book.
See, I have nothing.
But that was literally written during the.
See,
during
could,
COVID.
I could care less about stuff.
Well, you could care less. So you like Doge because you said it's a waste of money. So you're going to pay a governor all this money.
No, my theory is, and I remember when there was a big hubbub over, oh God, who's the governor that was caught using the state helicopter to go back and forth to his own vacation spot?
In Illinois?
It was before Pataki. Who the hell
Oh,
was
New York governor?
Yeah, who was before
I don't-
Pataki?
That was-
So anyways, he was caught using.
Cuomo, wasn't it? In the
No, it was in
No,
between. I
yeah.
can't. It was. No, was it? Wasn't it? No, it wasn't Pataki.
Oh, was,
I
it,
do
was it
remember.
Patterson?
That was after.
I don't even know if
It
it
was
was-
Well,
Spitzer.
it was
Spitzer
yeah,
and
Spitzer
Patterson.
Patterson was his lieutenant. But
Spitzer.
be that as it may, it was a big hubbub where he used state helicopters to ferry his family or his wife back and forth to their lake, their vacation spot. I don't have an issue with that. I really don't as much
We're not-
because that's the perks of the job.
that's
It is what it is.
But-
So you hired the state paid 2 staffers or 10 staffers or 100 staffers to help write his book BFD. I could care less.
Well,
about
then
this.
then how do you sit here and support what?
Because I would have no issue. I have no problems to the bridge build to nowhere in Alaska because it's American money spent. I have a huge problem when money is spent overseas.
So if there-
fraud, there's always going to be fraud. You're always going to have abuse. You're always going to have. Doesn't mean you promote it. Doesn't mean that you make it easy.
can't have it
but-
both ways. You can't have.
I disagree. I think
Well,
that
you
there
can-
should be certain perks to the
Well,
job.
there's not a perk where you're paying people $100,000 a year to write your book and then you make $5 million of it. They're paid to do the taxpayers'
You don't
work.
think everybody does?
No, I don't.
You're
I don't. No,
you're
I'm not.
absolutely.
Were you
There,
ever-
there,
were
there
you-
is
were
there
you-
isn't one employer.
Were you ever in politics?
Does it, there
you ever
you
Republican?
said in business there isn't one employer that hasn't sent his employees to his particular house and do
Well,
work at his house
but if you-
and he's paid.
But guess
So,
what? if an employer does it and he's paying the guy, that's one thing. If I'm paying
He's the executive of the state. We've hired him to manage the state's money.
that's bullshit.
Sorry.
Well, that's you.
Just like I wouldn't have an issue if when you were mayor, you said, fuck, I'm going to have the DPW stop and do my driveway.
I'd have an issue with that.
I don't. You're the executor
Well,
of
that doesn't give
and,
me-
and if the residents of the Cohoes didn't like that, they'd fire you and get you
that
out.
doesn't give you the right.
How do you get rid of them, though?
You don't know.
Oh, he gets voted out.
That's half the problem. People don't unite either.
Well, again,
you can't
again,
use
that's
taxpayers'
not.
money for personal gain. You just
I
can't.
disagree with that.
Well, you
Persons
can
is-
disagree.
There is a vast. I mean, I don't agree with that at all. But I also don't agree with the 12 million people on Social Security that are over 120 years old.
Well, again, that's
that's a lot
fraud.
of stuff that Doge is uncovering.
If that's true,
But yeah, none of it.
But
is
again,
good. it's
here's-
all government waste.
if that's true, I want to see it.
Well, that's the thing, and that's
that's
my
the-
big thing with Doge right
Yeah,
now.
and
It's,
that's
they're
showing.
coming out and they're saying all this stuff. Well, show me that Social Security number with the check that went out today when it was issued in
that's what they're
in
uncovering.
1842.
No, what they're doing is they're saying they found all this stuff.
Where's
And
the proof?
I don't believe they're lying, but again, right back to square one. They're not doing a very good job disseminating the information. They're not communicating very well. You're
Yes.
giving Democrats an opportunity to beat you up because they see that
No
you're
proof.
you're not giving them the proof. So guess what? Take the 100 names.
Well, there's 12 million.
I'm just saying.
Give us
It's hard to
something.
disseminate that one.
I don't believe there's 12 million. I don't believe because I know for a fact that I used to get calls when I was in politics, whose parents died, and they said, "Hey, my mother's Social Security check came in, but she died Friday. Should I cash this?" And I said, "I wouldn't. Just hold on to it." And they would get a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we know." I got one for my wife.
Yeah.
She was 48.
Well, there's also a difference between 1 month and 3 years or
Right,
4
but
years,
I'm
and the checks are still getting cash.
The system,
Yeah.
the system ain't stupid, right? I mean, if you die, your Social Security number.
But it's also about the money laundering.
right. So the question is, if it's real, and I don't believe there's 12 million people,
It should be very easy to find.
it should be very easy to find, and it should be very easy to show.
Hey, did we just agree on something?
We did.
Wow, can we be best friends?
No.
And that's the thing about Elon
Fuck you, Sean.
sending out the
I
emails.
love you.
Elon sending out the emails to the government employees saying, 5 things you did this week.
I see nothing wrong with that.
I don't either because you know what? I worked for a union, and every day we had to write down what we did, and he'd say once a month, "I need you to turn it in."
But the key to all that was, and he came out and just said this,
Well, let's just see if somebody answers the
see
email.
if you got a pulse.
Yeah, see if somebody's even
because-
answering these emails.
There could just be empty, like literally nothing jobs with no person behind it, and it's just money laundering. You're just how do you think these politicians become millionaires
I don't have
on
a.
$100,000?
Well, every one of them.
But the problem is, to Sean's point, is if you're uncovering this stuff, well, okay, good, you uncovered it. Bring the evidence out at the same time. They come out and they say, "Oh, we just voided a contract to ABCD in Venezuela because it's sponsoring DEI policies." Okay, well, let's see the cash checks. Let's see the PO that was sent out to show something. Don't just pull something. I call those PFA numbers.
I think it's
Stop giving me PFAs.
I think
You know
it's a
PFA. You know what
double-edged
PFA
sword.
stands for?
Tell us.
Pluck from air. It's like they're making shit up just to prove a point. We all know there's fraud and there's corruption and there's mismanagement. Well, show it. It should be easy to show.
I think it's a double-edged sword too, though. Like I think they're uncovering so much so fast.
Well, then slow
Then
down.
hold it.
Then slow down.
Hold on to it.
but it's crazy because it's just so much. And then you start divulging that information to people. People, when you get you give them too much information, they're going to shut off.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. That's the whole argument that we're trying to make, right? If you go so fast that you overload people, they can't even comprehend what you're doing.
Well, they're giving you the headline.
I think the problem is the two highest guys in government right now, their brains work 1,000,000 miles an hour. They can handle that. Most of us don't work 1,000,000 miles
I
an hour.
love this stuff.
Yeah, but you look at
at
Trump and the way he does things, and obviously Elon. When you talk to him, he process things at such a different pace than what most people do. I think it's okay for them to drop stuff like that. Well, the problem is your adversary, people that are your detractors, are going to get you on it because you're not giving all the information.
And it's easy to like minimize what they're doing because
Yeah.
most of us out here are like, I haven't really seen it. I heard him say it. You know, did they really sell $50 million in condoms, or is that a lie? Because one minute they're saying, yes, we did. And then the Democrats are saying, we know that's a lie. And they haven't responded back to say, yeah, we made a mistake. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong.
And at the same token, they're blocking them from getting into the building.
Well, there's
too.
look at, I get it. If I was a Democrat, I would try to block them too, right? Because especially if I was
The gravy
especially
train's
if I
being.
was
the
especially if
tower's
I was
coming
getting-
down.
Especially if I was getting paid to do a job and I was working on someone's house, I would be making sure I locked
Sure.
it.
A no-show.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, if they would just slow down and send the information to the Democrats, prove them wrong. Even if you're sending them emails and said, "Here's the contract. We're going to announce this on Friday. We're going to announce this one on Friday."
That might be
yes,
coming after cash is in.
Once a week you have a blast. That way it gives it time to be corroborated.
Yeah.
It gives it time. Maybe it's one of those deals where you have a Caroline Levitt for Doge, where the Doge department has a weekly. Here's what we've uncovered today. Blah 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 blah. And here's the information where it goes. Here's who got paid.
Right.
Here's a canceled check, so that people can't say, "Oh, you made that up." No, here's the proof. Here's the proof.
the only-
And I think people, because right now, if you look for the last week and a half, Doge has been on the defensive. They've been trying to, oh yeah, we're gonna make mistakes. We're uncovering a lot at the same time. Big balls. I mean, as much as I think it's cute, why would you name yourself Big Balls when you're working for the fucking federal government? Come on.
It might have been previous, but he was about
Still, change
he's
your
about
fucking
18.
change your name.
There's a lot of
It's
reasons.
stupidity.
There's a lot of reasons to be suspicious, even though I don't believe they're lying. There's just too much room because they're not doing it in any kind of systematic way. They're just throwing shit out there. And even me, who believes that they're doing the right thing, I go, I don't know if it's true because I haven't seen
Trust
it.
but verify.
I do like that idea though of having like a weekly presser.
Yeah.
Well, they should.
A weekly. Don't give it every day, because what happens, and then you see it's like all the Democrats calling Republican Nazis and racists and homophobes. It comes to a point where people don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever.
People don't.
I've heard it meant to. You've called me that so many times. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm a racist. I
Try
don't give a
to-
shit.
and they
So
should-
what happened in Doge right now is in that mindset where people are like, it's information overload. We don't know what's true, what's not. Let it be.
Try to catch the mistake before you have to go rewind.
Yeah.
You're
Slow,
going to
like you said, slow it down.
Yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but maybe I disagree with you guys. I don't really know what you said because we went really quick.
Obviously, you're not listening.
No, I'm
Sean.
not. I don't know what you said when I said to you that I really don't like the fact that they're firing and laying off all these people when they don't really even know what they do, the ones they are laying off. They don't really understand. How can you in 3 weeks understand the operations of a department? I get the USA thing.
Well, that goes back to the email thing, the polls, seeing if there's
That's
even-
only
No,
that's
I think
only
I
one.
think
seeing somebody.
I think they were premature in a lot of that. I mean, some of those places that they started laying off, Trump didn't even have his head people there. So, and then they come back and they have to rehire him back.
Yeah, and
'Cause,
why would you even?
I mean, they I think one of the department was the NSA. They fired a bunch of people at the NSA, and these people had a high top level clearance, and you didn't debrief them on their firing, and then you had to hire them back because shit, they had sensitive information.
And the same thing with people in the VA.
Stupid.
I don't get that. I think what he should have done is said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And this is how I would have done it. I would have said, however long it takes, we're going to do one department at a time.
Which he came out and said that this week at the cabinet meeting.
Right, we're going to do one department at a time. We're going to look at all the finances. We're going to look at the employees. We're going to look at the possible restructuring. And once we get through all of that, we'll make an announcement. So this department today, we're going to lay off 52 people because we don't need them. We're going to do this. We found this much.
Well, I think the
this
start of
building
that
is empty.
Yeah, I think the start of doing that was forcing the employees to come back to work.
Well,
That was first and
I
foremost.
was all in favor of that.
Yeah, and I think that now that I mean, you look at all of his cabinet posts is almost all in place now. All the heads of all these departments are in place, so now they can start. I think he gave up until what did he say? 40% reduction by March 4th. I think so. He got which was crazy. Was it March or April? Whatever.
I thought
There was a certain time frame that he expected to really cut the federal workforce, which I think it needs to be cut.
Well,
there's redundant departments, there's redundancies that don't need to be there. There's a lot of rules that I mean, I look at some of the things that the government is overreaching. The federal government has things in place that the states have. There's no reason why the federal has it and the state has it. Like the Army Corps of Engineers supersedes the EPA in the state and the DEC, where one can fight the other on the same goddamn ruling. That makes no sense.
Well, one of the problems
Just
is
change that too.
one of the problems is because
Just now.
because states have its own autonomy, right? You have OSHA, and the state of New York has PESH.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing, but the federal government doesn't always necessarily have authority over the state government, right?
Separation, yeah.
Because there's a
Well,
separation.
then the federal government shouldn't have OSHA.
Well, they do it because of the federal workforce. So in order to make
Well,
sure,
then in that case, OSHA should not come into my building.
well, OSHA really doesn't. It's usually PESHA in the governmental sector. In the private sector, it's OSHA. So when a firefighter files,
Yeah, I think state is
Right,
OSHA
when a
and
fire-
federal is PEF.
That's right. When a firefighter files a
You did the
complaint,
reference,
let's say, PESH will come out. If somebody files a complaint on you, OSHA's going to come out.
Yeah.
And so I can understand the reason there's separations there. I do believe, I know people get mad at me about the Department of Education, but I think that's one of the biggest bureaucracies in the world.
Get rid of it.
Terrible.
Whether you get rid of the whole thing or you shrink it down. Can you imagine how much money you're going to save and how much could probably go into schools or
Yeah.
programs or recreation? You know, back in the 70s and 80s, we had all this money for recreation, right? The Cohoes Community Center, the halls of the community center were filled with mentors that helped kids. And life was different back then, right? Crime was different. Kids didn't just pick up guns and shoot each other. There was mentors. This was all federal funds, and then it dried up. Well, maybe you could take that redundance, because I know of nothing that the Department of Education and the federal government does for education. They don't teach nobody. They just make all these bullshit rules.
Yeah.
that put-
Unfunded mandates that put more
Unfunded
pressure on the
mandates.
school districts.
And what was that created in the 80s?
It was created so
Late
that
70s?
it was created so that people who would not fall behind. It's like anything else. It's
So you had to
like
bring
Well, the
everybody
problem
else
is
down.
you had states that had a lot of money, and you had states that were very poor, like Oklahoma, and
we're
whatnot.
just making-
Big agrarian states, so they weren't the kids were not getting a proper education. Okay, well, I understand. Like every policy, it's all conceived with good intention.
Right.
But the problem is, the bigger it gets, the less the original intent is still there.
They just-
and the education department is a prime example of that.
Well, just look at local schools, okay? They were created to teach, and everybody wants to become something bigger and add more, because they think the more they add, the more jobs they are, the more security they have. Like, schools should be teaching your kids. Outside of that, why do they have to be involved in all these other aspects of their life? Most kids can't do very good math. They can't read that well. And we don't focus on that. In the state of New York, you know what they were focused on? Kids couldn't read. We were one of the worst states.
Gender studies.
No, they were concerned about your mascot. So the New York State Department of Education is going around to all these schools saying, "Oh,
Change your mascot, or else we'll take your money."
Can't have an Indian. or-
right." Somehow, an Indian, a warrior, is like blasphemy. It's like, oh my God, you're disrespecting the Indians. First of all, I don't know anybody who would be disrespected watching a bunch of kids work their ass off to become the best, sweating out there, playing as hard as they can. When they win, they hold up their sign, "We're the Warriors," and somebody's upset about that? It's bullshit. It's not Indians. It's not you. It's not me. It's the woke people running the school.
Perfect example is look at Shen.
Yeah.
Shen, their mascot was an Indian. He was called a plainsman.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do even with being called a warrior or an Indian. A plainsman. Who cares?
Who cares what they call them?
It doesn't change your ability for a school to learn and or for students to learn and schools to teach. It makes no difference.
I see it as a sign of respect. I don't
Yeah.
see it as a negative. Who builds a mascot to be negative against themselves? They build it.
You want the toughest.
Yeah,
and-
like we were.
Look at Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima was an ode to a woman that worked in a pancake house that came out with syrup.
and they named
She
it.
was-
Uncle
she was
Ben
awesome.
was another one. He was a waiter someplace at
She
a.
was the first self-made millionaire.
Yeah.
Black woman millionaire.
Uncle Ben was another one. He was I think was a teetotaler at a golf club, and he got a recipe and developed a business. These are all things that people became admired for. The Washington Chiefs,
The Redskins.
the Redskins. I mean,
Yeah,
not
that
the
was
Chiefs. I'm
awesome.
sorry, buddy. The Redskins.
Well, there's a lawsuit
mean-
now to make it go back.
Yeah,
But that was based-
because the Indians felt it as pride.
Yeah, of course.
But that was
except-
based off a real person.
Yeah.
That mascot
Yeah,
was a real
I
guy.
think there was like one small little Indian group that probably are like.
Not
one-
even. It's the
There was
the
only
woke
s-
liberals
Yeah,
that
It's-
but there was-
offended.
They were woke people who said they were Indian.
And they were all white.
Yeah, they. What's
white suburban women.
Yes.
yeah, and so we cater.
If they were women.
we cater to the smallest of
true,
groups,
Never know.
and now the Redskins
Inseminated people.
inseminated people. I got that. I want to talk about that too.
Oh my God, Wisconsin! What the hell are you thinking? Bunch of cheeseheads.
I don't know if there's anything ever as stupid as that guy to say that we got to remove mom and say inseminated person.
And they leave dad there.
It just makes no sense to me. That guy ought to be ashamed. If
How
he-
are women not up in arms?
Well-
what is the best thing about it being a woman is to be a mom?
well, to some, here,
Well, to most, let's speak in broad generalities. Most women aspire to be moms.
I'm glad you said that because here's what I've recognized,
Real
and I'm sure you recognized it too.
The minority is leading the majority.
All of these attacks on women.
Are all by women.
Yes, men are fighting their asses
Yes,
off
to protect the women as usual. God damn it!
And women are the ones fighting against these women. These
Yeah,
young
look at
girls.
Mills in Maine. Here she is fighting to keep trans men in women's sports.
Yeah.
And she
And
wants-
Trump is going, no, men don't belong in women's sports. Here's the man fighting the woman to keep men out of women's
Yes,
sports.
and then she sends out an email for a fundraiser because she wants to fight this thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying to myself, is this the hill they all
And,
want
pe-
to die
and,
on?
and people are going to donate to that.
Of course, because there's a whole bunch. Look, there's a whole. I don't want to say. I don't want to say it the wrong way.
Probably those 1 or 12 million Social Security.
Many,
Yeah.
well, many people who live that alternative lifestyle see it as an attack. Like somehow, do you give a shit who's gay? No. Do you?
I always say, this is not cool, but this is fun to watch.
But you don't care.
Scissoring.
Not one of us care. I don't care who's gay. I don't
No,
care who's a transgender.
I could give a crap.
Do you know that the first transgender bill ever passed
Obama.
in Albany County was by Sean Morse? For 35 years.
He's a dick.
Yeah, he
What
is
the
a dick.
fuck?
But you know what? Those people deserved to be treated with the same respect as
Yeah.
I do. They-
But here's my problem, though, Sean.
And
Okay,
their
you want to be acknowledged as somebody who is in the LGBTQ whatever.
that
And you want to be
organization-
treated. You want to be treated like everybody else. But yeah, you want your special day. You want your special parade. You
Well,
want
here-
your
here-
special
but-
acknowledgement.
so-
I don't have that as a white person
here's where
or a man for that
Here's
matter.
where I'll debate.
I'll treat you the same way. Expect to be treated the same.
Here's our debate on that.
Here we go. You and I never agree.
I do not believe for 1 second that the vast majority of people who have an alternative lifestyle want to be part of the circus.
You're right. I'll
Okay?
agree with you there.
Most of the people just want to have a life. They want to love somebody.
Yes.
They want to do whatever it is. They want to adopt kids. Whatever it is.
And frankly, I think most people don't give a shit either.
I don't.
I could care
I
less.
have gay friends. I
Yep.
know trans. It doesn't matter to me. It crosses the line when they start imposing their lives into mine,
Yes.
where it doesn't.
I
You
guess-
need to change.
I guess
Like,
we're not
need
gonna.
to change.
I
Like,
guess.
I need to pretend that it's okay for you to pretend you're a woman.
I guess we're not gonna fight about this after all.
No, because-
I agree with you.
Right. So when they have these parades, that is the far. It's like the far
And
left,
they're
the left.
and they're debaucheries.
Well, and they're embarrassing themselves, and then they wonder why people are having a problem with
Yeah.
it. And then they go, "Well, we're not people." treat us differently. No shit. When you're a man walking down the street with a thong on backwards, there seems to be a problem,
Yeah,
bro.
I don't want my kid to look at that. I don't want to have to explain that to my kid.
And you're
right.
0.001% of the population too. It's like
That's right.
you're not a majority.
I wouldn't
you're
want to explain
extreme minority.
I wouldn't want to explain that to my kid if it was heterosexuals.
Yeah,
There's a time and place that I'm going to
Absolutely.
raise my kids, and I'm going to teach them the right thing.
there's a reason why I don't like banana hammocks.
There you go.
Tan lines?
Imagine Sean in a banana hammock. Holy shit.
Stand up, Sean.
No.
Yeah, okay. Keep thinking. Keep thinking.
Hey, so I can see you now. I was on the beach.
I
man.
can see clearly
People know
now.
who I am.
Sean's in
They
a
drive
banana
behind.
hammock.
They go, there's Sean. No, that was the truck going through.
Yeah.
But based off
Oh,
of
God.
what
He's a three-legged man.
we recently touched on the last podcast about the family nucleus.
Yeah.
And that's, when you destroy the family nucleus, the mother, the father, the children, God, society breaks down.
It does.
And that's, that's a big thing of the deep state is to destroy the family nucleus, separate,
The Democratic Party, actually.
yeah, create a divide, create, just things that should be. They want to make that the weird thing and make the weird thing the normal thing.
Yeah. The sad part is normal people, and I do believe they're normal, take these issues to drag more voters into their block and therefore defend them. Because
people don't want to be racist. They
I'm
don't
going to
wanna
just,
be
I know
scared.
you hate it when I go to Cuomo, but here's the deal. Look at the stuff that he did.
He
right?
lives in your head,
No,
man.
listen, look at the stuff that he did.
He lives in his head. Look at it.
People are still going to vote for him no matter what he did.
Name.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if he could
Name and
reach,
party.
so if he could reach over the aisle and pull in a whole group of other people, let's
CDS.
just say it's
CDS.
transgenders.
That's-
Now he's got thousands of transgenders who are in his side, and he builds a bigger pool of people to support him. That's what this whole thing is about. Just like letting people cross the border. That was about votes. The Democrats figured they
Well,
were
I think that when it comes to that, I think they were going to try to figure out a way to make them all legally
Well, they were. They're New York
able
City,
to vote.
New York City had them all prepared to vote, and
Yeah,
it
but
got shot
it
down.
got shot down
But then they
court
were
level.
trying to fight it again.
Yeah.
Now they're getting sued by.
So a couple months ago, when they had the elections in New York, I was very outspoken critic against this
What? Did you
proposition.
say you were outspoken?
I was
I
outspoken
can't imagine, Sean.
against Proposition 1.
Which one was
Oh
that?
yeah, that was
Proposition 1 was changing the...
Oh, yeah. That's
terrible.
right.
Boys and girls sports.
Yes.
Right, it was,
yes.
you know, they
And did that pass?
well, it did pass
It did pass.
overwhelmingly.
Of course it did.
Okay, but I had John McDonald on the show, and we had a great
He
conversation.
had no clue.
Well, we had a great conversation about it, but I kept saying, listen, here's what's going to happen. You have added things in there like you can't discriminate against age. You can't discriminate against sexual identity. And all of the woke shit was now added into the protections in New York State. And they kept arguing with me, and people would email me and fight with me on the show. And they would say, you know, you're just making this shit up because it's not going to change anything. And I'd say, yes, it is, because soon as you say that somebody's sexual identity is now protected, you can't say to them in New York State, you can't play on the girls' team. You're a boy. And so now he has truly a constitutional right in the state of New York to fight that case, which is a lot different than just a legal argument. So soon as Trump comes out and says, I'm putting this, not a resolution, but executive order that says boys can't play in girls' sports, New York State says, sorry, we can't abide by that because our Constitution would be violated. So I said it was going to be this
Well, that was what Mills' argument was. She said your federal rule violates my state constitution.
Well, that's the argument. And I said it for the...
But at that point, Trump has the right to say, well, in that case, since you're violating federal rules, we're going to not fund your school district.
I'm not saying he doesn't. That's going to go to court. All I said is that these states that purposely put this shit in there to protect people from this woke bullshit.
Unintended consequences.
I said all they're doing is opening up lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and they don't care. You know why? Because these lawsuits take years
Oh yeah.
and years.
That's
To
half,
your- to
that's
your
half
point-
the thing they do is because they know how long it takes.
To your point, I had a discussion a couple years back with a gay rights activist, and he was nice guy. Had a great. I mean, we bantered back till about 3:00 in the morning. It was a great conversation.
Late
And
night, huh?
what's that?
Late night?
Oh yeah.
Into the night with that?
Why limit myself to 50% of the population? Anyways, so need I digress?
No beds and meds by 8.
No. Maybe beds, but not meds. Anyway, so we were talking about he was really instrumental in the gay marriage in New York State, the rules. He was an advocate for that. So his big push was, or his big comment was, his big argument, is overwhelming. New Yorkers overwhelmingly agree that gays should marry. I said, yeah, you're right. He goes, I said, but I think if you ask the question differently, you get a different answer. What do you mean? I said, I bet you if you ask people, do you think two men should be able to use the word marriage to consecrate their union? I can guarantee that's different.
But if you want to be just as miserable as the rest
But
of us,
hold on. There's a reason why, because it leads to what Sean said about unintended. He goes, well, that's not necessarily true. Da, 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 da. I said, okay. I said, do you think there should be an age limit to marriage? Well, no, people should be married no matter how they should be married. Why? I said, so a 46-year-old should marry a 12-year-old? Well, of course not. I said, see, it all depends how you ask the question, how you frame the question, because you can get any results you want. And that's the problem. These people write these bills with a one outcome in mind, and they don't look at all the other things they're bringing in.
Yeah.
I can guarantee all these politicians didn't expect society to say, well, we're going to let all these men playing women's sports. No, who thought that? As a guy, I wouldn't want to play. Well, maybe I would now, but I'm just saying I wouldn't want to play with a bunch of women in sports. Yeah. That's unfair.
I think they'd fuck you up.
Me, big fat dude, absolutely they would.
You certainly would.
But did you see what happened in Maine over the weekend? So they had a huge gymnastic competition, and a trans. I can never figure out how it is. A trans woman who's originally a man, who was a man over the summer, did a pole vaulting competition and won and at a height that is so a woman will never achieve that height. So it has forever destroyed any of these girls' ability to ever break that record.
The moral of that story was, a year ago, he lost.
Yeah, couldn't compete against men.
Couldn't even compete. He didn't even make it to the podium.
Yeah.
And then so he jumped over against women.
And he destroyed the records.
Same thing with the Riley Gaines and the swim.
Yes.
That guy was ranked last.
I love Riley
in
Gaines.
college.
She's
But
fighting a good fight.
She is fighting a great fight.
Didn't the House just pass overwhelmingly Republican and not one
It was by
Democrat?
party line.
Yeah.
Not
one Democrat voted for the women.
The women,
or
the
men,
women,
not
the women in sports.
So basically, he is creating legislation on it. It's not just going to be executive orders.
So here's
Well, I
pass
think
the Senate,
he did say Trump did say in one of the the myriad of interviews he's had over 1,000
Over 1,000
things.
amazing.
The man is amazing. Every day he has press conferences for hours at a time.
Yeah.
But anyways, that his push is all these executive orders to eventually get them to become law. So they can't be reversed by the next president.
Exactly.
He's got to. Otherwise, if it's a Democrat, they'll be reversed.
Yeah, just like he did to Biden's executive order.
I guess.
And what Biden did is.
I think what will be interesting is that none of it really matters until the courts decide whether you can hold the federal funds. We do know that federal highway funds were threatened to be held to any state that refused to raise the drinking age to 21. So it has happened before.
Which I think is bullshit itself.
Again, whether or not
Bullshit.
right, whether you believe that or not, was the more.
Sorry.
What I guess what I'm trying to say is as far as the federal funds being held.
Yeah.
Remember when they raised it to 21,
Sure.
and they said some states weren't going to do it, and they said we won't give you your federal highway funds. So it'll be interesting to see if they can hold back the funds right now for the transgender.
Well, if they could do it for the federal highway, I can imagine.
Well, the federal highway thing was passed by Congress.
No, to your point. Okay.
So now we have a federal highway fund, a law passed by Congress, signed by the president.
Which let's look at this law real quick. How stupid is that law? So I had to be 21 to go buy a beer, but I can be 18 and go get shot at
Yeah.
and killed.
Die for your country.
Yeah,
There's a-
and once I've been deployed, I can't come home and go to a bar and have a beer because I'm not 21. I can go kill somebody and be killed and shot at, but I can't buy a goddamn beer. And actually, I think is it Rensselaer County? I can't even buy goddamn cigarettes.
I got mixed emotions on it, and I'll tell you why. I mean, when I was 20 years old, and I was drinking like a pig, and I don't remember going home, and you get in cars and people get killed, and
They're drinking at 18 now.
well, I understand that, but it was a lot harder. It was a lot
Yeah,
harder.
well, I'm just saying.
It was a lot harder. Once they went from 18 to 19, it was a lot harder. You'd have to stand in front of the convenience store hoping somebody'd buy you some beer. It was a lot harder. As a grown-up now, as a father, as a firefighter, seeing all these, sometimes I go, I get it. But I also get what you're saying. Maybe you shouldn't send a kid to war till he's 21.
Yeah.
If there's going to be an age limit to put limitations on somebody's rights, then make it for everything.
So yeah, so again,
You're 18
getting back to what you're saying, I'm not smart enough to have a drink, but I'm smart enough to figure out a vote for a president. I'm not smart enough to have a drink, but or even better, I can go and kill people off at war for my government. I can't rent a car or a hotel room.
I get it.
I mean, these rules are so stupid.
And it's a cultural
I think
thing,
I
too.
think
You go back to or you go to these other countries, France, etc., and
they drink at all
at
ages.
11 years old they can drink, you know what I
Wine.
mean? And they don't have the same repercussions that we have here because it's literally a cultural thing, you know. Now at like 16, 18, whatever, and people drink to indulgence, and it's a different mentality than what they have.
No, you know what the problem is? And
when
I'll
you're
tell you-
raised on it. You know
No,
what
I
mean?
think the biggest problem is everything in America is a taboo. Sex is a taboo. Porn is a taboo. Drinking is a taboo. When you make things a taboo, kids are gonna exploit it,
Yeah, well,
and that's the problem.
Tell me not to touch it.
You go to Montreal. Drinking age is 18. Porn's available at 16. You can stay out late and bars are open, and you can live a life of an adult at 18 years old. People aren't dying in mass. People aren't committing adultery in mass. People aren't addicted to porn in mass. What happens is that it becomes commonplace, and you're like, whatever.
I think
Do you have the occasional good person that dies? Yeah, you're always going to have that. Well, welcome to life. It's called living, man.
I think the government really tries to look at age from different experiences and try to pigeonhole all these things into different spots. And I think it makes it a lot more complicated, right? And I think they just really opened up a can of worms for themselves, because when they passed Proposition 1 and they made sure that it protected age as now a constitutional right. It used to be a law, but now it's in the state constitution, right? What happens when you go to buy beer and they say to you, you're not 21?
Right.
Can you now sue and say, wait a minute, now you're discriminating against
Guess my age.
in the Constitution of the state of New York, which is a far more powerful, document, a far more powerful right than it is to have a law, because there's laws all the time. People can sue, they can fight, they can go to court over the law. And it's easier to win a law than it is to change the Constitution. So now you're going to have all of these people with all of these rights in the state of New York Constitution. There's going to be lawsuits for the next 30 years to straighten them all out. And I think they opened up a Pandora's box, or maybe they wanted to do that. Because maybe the more that they're focused on all this nonsense, these people
Wag
can
the dog.
continue to, behind your back, I was watching this show last week, and I was trying to look something up about the show. I forget what it was, and I come across this bill that was in the state Senate. Okay, in the state of New York, they have put people in jail for lying about where you live and voting. Right? If you live in Troy, you can't put down you live in Cohoes and vote, and they arrest you for voter fraud.
Yeah.
So the state of New York has got a Senate bill
Oh, yeah, you were talking about this the other day.
that basically says that you can live in California
I come in and vote in New York.
as long as you have a connection with somebody in Cohoes. You can vote out of Cohoes. I mean, it's just they'll do anything they can
To hold on to power.
to protect themselves, because
Yeah.
power corrupts. Absolutely, right? And I think
And does that go to the point that people aren't as divided or as far left, we'll say, as it seems. You know what I mean? That they have to keep.
I also
They have
think.
to keep replacing.
Yeah,
those
you got to keep
numbers.
replacing the people. Like,
Well, the problem is, I think, is the rules don't change as fast as society. When these rules were put there, you were lucky to own a home. You probably lived in a multi-family home or multi-generational home. Now people have multiple homes. Like I have a house in Rensselaer County. I also have a house in Saratoga County.
Yeah.
Should I be able to vote in both places?
Yeah, you pay.
I have
taxes
representative and pay taxes in both places. I should be able to vote in both places, but I can't.
one man, one vote. But maybe you should be for local elections. I don't know.
I wouldn't
All
want.
I
I
know
just would. I wouldn't want to challenge. I would not want to challenge that and have an issue. with
All
it.
I
So
know is
just-
that-
I was too-
You're
Well,
paying
the-
tax dollars.
I
mean, it
think you
makes
should.
sense.
Yeah. All I know is that you get to pick one of them. You could probably say, I'm going to vote out of Rensselaer and say that's where my voting house is, right? But
I'm paying taxes
but
in
the-
both places.
but
Shouldn't I be allowed to vote on school budgets and
well,
local
if
issues?
in fact,
Yeah.
if in fact voting was based on taxes, I guess, but voting wasn't based on taxes. It was based on one man's right to vote
Well, voting was based off of land.
Land ownership,
and ownership.
and they took that away.
Well, that was that. I don't know. If
And
that's how
to
it
me, I
started.
think it should still be that way. If you don't own property, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Well, I don't agree with that.
But and
This
actually,
is
the more
America.
land you had, the more votes you had.
Yeah, and I don't. I guess I never really did the history on it. That's why.
Constitutional.
Well, that's why I asked. I mean,
It got changed. It got changed to
Right.
that.
Yeah,
From
right,
from
14th
land owners.
14th Amendment. Or
Yeah.
something?
I think it's important that people vote. I wish people would be more educated. I wish people would understand what they vote for. I wish people would vote on issues rather than the D or the R.
Yeah.
Me
too.
I think as long
Either way, I would rather have somebody that I don't agree with that can articulate why they don't agree with me.
yeah.
I have more respect for that person than somebody who agrees with me but just can't tell me why. I'm going to vote because he's a Republican. What's going on? Hello, sirs. Then worry
Adam
about.
jumped out of his seat.
Yeah, scared the shit out of me too.
Holy shit! You didn't know he had-
Super loud in the headphones.
You didn't realize he was just wearing his backwards thong, did you?
Hey, it just became backwards. But I would rather have somebody that's a Democrat and tell me why he's voting for Democrat and articulate why than somebody who's going to agree with me and just say, well, I just always vote Republican. I don't know why.
Well, I think for me, I don't care. They certainly don't have to articulate to me why they're vote one way or the other. I would just like to know that people would think through the
No, meaning they're educated,
Right.
they know what they're voting for.
think
That's all.
through the
Yeah.
think through the issue.
Well, the largest voting bloc is now independent.
Well, I was in. Do you?
Well, the independence is the reason why Donald Trump won this time
Well,
around.
I ran my first campaign as an Independence Party member. There was a confusion going on back then, right? Because the party named itself the Independence Party, and then people would think that you were independent, but you actually belonged to a party. But I was
Just you out there, kind of thing.
all by himself.
I
all
actually
by
I ran for the
myself.
state I ran for the Albany County Legislature by myself. I had two people helping me because I was running against the party. So
Well, that is
yeah.
that's also a big problem that we have in New York is these
you get
close
squashed.
primaries, because somebody who runs as an independent, you don't have a primary.
And you
somebody
can't
who
vote.
what's that?
I said, and you can't vote.
Yeah, you can't vote in the primaries. If
you can't vote. You
like
gotta
if
be-
you're a conservative, you can't vote in a
well,
Republican
took-
primary.
They changed
think you
everything.
can.
I don't.
No,
nope,
you can't.
Cannot.
can't?
Only
You have to-
Republicans can vote in the primary. Only Democrats can vote in the primary. They're close primaries.
And you can't even do a Wilson Pakula no more. So the people who used to get the Wilson Pakula can't even do that because
what the hell's a Wilson
Yeah, well,
Pakula?
well, basically, if
Enlighten
you're a
us.
Come on.
Republican, if you're a Republican,
I'll pretend you're in your.
and you meet with the Independence Party, they can give you the right to vote on the line as an independent. Right?
Yeah.
It's called the Wilson Pakula. But they did away with that in New York. They did away with all kinds of stuff. They didn't like the Independence Party name, so they passed a law that no party can have independence in it.
And you notice
Because they
how
were afraid that they were going to start losing voters to this, to this independence.
Yeah, and you notice how now, like the conservative line will always have either the Republican or the Libertarian will always have the Democrat.
Yeah,
It's,
you don't see that no more.
yeah. So
So basically,
Libertarians are veering as well.
it's really hard to win an election.
I'm not libertarian, liberal. I'm sorry.
It's really hard to
Liberal-
win an
Green
election
Party type.
outside
Green
the
Party, yeah.
Democrats. It really is. I mean,
Well,
I did it.
As you mean in
Well,
Cohoes?
well, anywhere in the state. I did it.
Oh, yeah,
I
New
did it
York
because
State.
truthfully, I was a Democrat my whole life, and when they promised me that I'd have the next opportunity, and then they stuffed it up my nose, I said, "Fuck yeah, I'll just become an independent, and I'll be the first one to win," and I did. And I went down to the county legislature. I was now an independent, and guess what they did to me? They shut the door, and I couldn't get into any of the meetings, any of the rooms, because I wasn't part of the caucuses. I ended up having to go back to the.
I think that's the biggest problem with government today is that this idea of closed primaries and closed parties and closed caucuses. I think if it should be open to everybody.
Well, I'm a firm believer that political parties have destroyed the country.
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly that we've created a system of Hatfields versus the McCoys where it does not matter.
Great movie, by the way.
Yeah, but it does
Great
not.
story.
Kevin Costner?
Yes.
Or is that the show? The series?
The series was Kevin
Yeah,
Costner. It was
Kevin
great.
Costner. But the problem is now we just talked about it. There's an issue on the table about transgenders. People are not looking at the issue and how it affects people's lives, right? They basically say, we're for it and we're against it, and that's how we vote. And most people just fall in line.
Yeah, because the problem is you start questioning people about these beliefs, and suddenly their arguments all fall apart. They had a man in the street, not about the transgender, but they were talking about the bullet points that Elon Musk said. 'Cause, everybody's having a big hubbub about it. So they did a man in the street, and the reporter was like, "So what do you think?" "Oh, I think it's crap. I should never do that." And so the reporter says to the lady, she goes, "Do you have to justify your job on a yearly evaluation?" "Yes, of course I do." "Do you have to show to your boss on a weekly base, on a monthly basis what you have to do?" "Well, yeah, I have efficiency reports." "Do you have a metrics that measures what you do during the day so that you're proficient?" "Well, yes, of course. I have a log." I said, "You don't think federal employees should do that?" Blank stare.
Yeah, because
Suddenly, as soon as you break it down to a regular argument, they're like, "Oh yeah, wait a minute, that makes sense."
There was another good one where this dude was doing a man on the street and he was interviewing this black lady. He's like, "What do you think of Elon Musk, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "I think he needs to go back where he came from, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "South Africa?" And she goes,
yeah, she ran away.
"South Africa?"
Yeah, she didn't even know. They just don't know. They know the bullet points and that's it.
Well, it's
again,
nobody does the research.
So this idea that you're ever going to have an educated electorate,
No.
you'll never get that.
Look, at the first problem is we talked about in the beginning of the show. It's the media. So if you sit home all day watch CNN, you're going to just vote against everything that Trump's doing, everything that.
Could you imagine listening to Joy Reid, Rachel? No, not
Madcap.
She still had
that's
800,000 people, even though that's a small number of
Or listening to The View every day.
800,000 people. I get on Facebook and I go into those, these little Joy Reid blow parties, right? And everybody's in there saying, "Oh, you were the voice for us." And I go and I say something like, "She was a fucking moron." And then I get like 7,000 responses all looking for my address to come home and kill me, right? And I think to myself, how can anybody not see her as the biggest racist
She's
on
so
television?
racist. Oh my God, she's so racist.
Well, what does that tell you? That tells you how people are so different and they think differently, and you're never going to change that. So you have two problems.
But the thing is, she'll sit there and call you a racist
Yes.
because you voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You're white and you voted for a white guy because he was better than Kamala Harris. He was a better candidate. There's no race involved
I
there.
voted for
I'm not
Obama at
racist because
18 too.
Obama freaking won.
I try to argue that all the time. So I got a biracial granddaughter. She's the
Yeah.
love. I would take a bullet. And, she's the love of my life. All my grandkids are, right? But she's the love of my life.
You're always with her. I always see on Facebook.
And I'm
with her.
arguing with some
the
guy.
boss.
Yeah, I got some guy calling me a racist. I go, I'm not a racist. I said, I got biracial grand. He goes, yeah, she probably don't even fucking like you. And if I could have reached through Facebook, it was time for me to take a siesta. Because if I could have found that prick, I would have went to his house and knocked on his door. And I'm thinking, these people are so. If race isn't the issue for them, they have nothing.
No.
All of their failures have to do with race. I got to tell you something.
Tell me, Sean. Tell me, damn it.
There's racists in the world, ain't there?
We're all a little
for the-
racist in all our own
It
right.
was literally all created under Obama.
Yeah,
like
they're-
that's when it ballooned.
Well, he
out.
was the divider in
Well, he
chief.
didn't do nothing for the black people. Yeah,
He
Trump has
sent
done more.
he sent race relations back 50 years.
Yeah.
just like gay and everything else.
Nobody
I'm
cared.
not racist, and I could give a shit what color you are, as long as you're a good human being and
Yeah.
good to me. I'm good to you, right? But there is an issue where it seems to me like there's got to be some kind of race reason that life is bad for you. And then I say, wait a minute.
Somebody's got their thumb on you.
We got black presidents. We got black justices. We got black elected officials.
Some of the best athletes are black. Some of the-
Athletes, businessmen.
Yes.
This world has turned around. It's not perfect, but man, I never owned a slave.
They were black
And
slave owners.
Yes. Look at there was blacks. There's not a slave.
Actually, I believe the first slave owner was black.
Yeah, Anthony Johnson.
There you go.
Yes, they were making money off their own race.
Yeah.
But people don't want to see
In America.
that.
In America.
And it was a white person that put an end to slavery.
They don't want to see that.
And the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's right.
And I
The Emancipation Proclamation.
Not one Democrat voted to. There's several things like that.
Oh, it's crazy.
Now, one
were
Democrat
the most
voted for-
racist in the world at
Yeah.
the time.
The head of the Ku
Klan
Klux
and
Klan's a
everything
Democrat.
else, Yeah.
But not one Democrat voted for blacks to get the right to vote. Not one Democrat voted for women to get the right to vote.
yeah.
Like you
Listen.
literally go back, like you could see this in the.
I'm
Yeah.
not going
in
to
the voting
pretend for
records.
1 second I understand what it's like to be a black man, a
No.
Chinese man, a gay man, a straight man. I don't know. I don't know what all you people in the world have in your life. I don't, right? I don't know you.
Everybody's different.
Well, did you ever hear Little Wayne? Little Wayne was interviewed by.
Uncle, the cop that saved his life.
Yeah, he says, I don't know what racism is, man.
And
the
I
black
don't
cops
either.
jumped over.
Yeah,
and the
and
one-
it was a white Uncle Bob.
But
He's the one who took care of me.
The mere fact that we're talking about it,
Yeah.
we'll be ridiculed by some people saying, look at three white guys talking about like they know racism. And to me, I just want to say to those people, I don't know racism, but I do know this, that the vast majority of people
Are not
good
racist.
people. The vast majority of this country are good people. The vast majority of this country wants everybody to live a good life. And black people have excelled in this country. And are we perfect? No. Can we do better? Probably. But are we far better than we were back when we owned slaves?
Yes.
When black people owned slaves? And this reparations bullshit,
Oh,
I never
that's
owned
just
a
a
slave,
divisive thing.
and I'm not paying for one. I was never a slave owner.
You know, I'd love to get Paul Tonko on here and talk because he's having a whole freaking thing on reparations.
Yes, because New York is now looking at whether we should give reparations. Why? First
How
of all,
do you do that when you're like?
There's not a
100
slave
billion
left.
in
There
debt?
was
not a slave left in
we
the
were a
world.
non-slave state to begin with.
Right, but there's not a slave in the world alive, and there's not anybody who owns slaves that is alive. Okay, at least from the
Yeah.
perspective of
1% of the South owned slaves. You had to be wealthy to own slaves.
yeah, of course. No poor people owned them, right?
Yeah.
But they want me.
But there were just as many Asian slaves and
Yes.
Irish slaves
Irish.
and white.
Irish are the original.
Actually, white. There were more white slaves around the world than there were of any other race combined.
and
There's more slaves today than there were ever in the world.
yeah,
people get mad at me when I say you've had
I
reparations.
slaved to my job.
There's reparations now. It's called welfare. It's called HEAP. It's called all
Yeah.
these. We provide tons of programs for the less fortunate. We got to get past racism in this country because I don't believe there's systemic racism. I believe there's always going to be assholes.
Listen, if systemic racism existed, Barack Obama never would have been elected, or he would have been taking care of all of this.
Let's forget
It's
about-
not. There isn't systemic racism in our country.
Let's look past the big elections. Let's just look
Or
here.
even look at local
just
stuff.
look here locally.
Yeah.
We have black judges. We had black district attorneys. We had black legislators. How do you think they get elected when only a small portion of black people actually vote?
Yeah, it's because white people
The
vote for him
largest
too,
yes, I will tell you.
and Asians and other minorities vote for it.
I just wish we could get by that because I
hate it.
I think that is the thing that holds back so many people.
It lives in people's heads.
Well, you know, the people live in perception, not reality. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I remember Bobby Signoraci was the mayor of Cohoes. I believe it was Bobby. And he had a thing on his desk that said, perception is reality.
Yeah.
And the reality is, for many people, what they perceive, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, that's their reality.
And what you see on your phone every day.
Yeah.
Well, I also think
You're told
it's,
things 100 times, you're going to believe it.
I think it's also, I mean, not just with racism, but in everything. It's a lot easier to blame something else for your shortcomings
I agree.
than to blame yourself and say, this is what I did wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I when I started my business, I had no backup plan. This was my backup plan. So if I failed, the only one I could blame was me.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't say, oh, my dad didn't lend me money. I didn't have any of that. So if I had no matter what to get up and go to work, I had to get up and when I was sick, I had to miss the kids' baseball because I was my backup plan. I didn't have anybody to blame but myself. Yeah. I think if people had more of that type of mindset is, you know what, I'm not going to sit on my laurels and do nothing and blame somebody else. It's on me. I think a lot of this goes away, and I think we were getting close to that. I think the 80s and 90s were amazing, and we took a hard turn to the left or to the right or whatever you want to do. We got off the road we were on, and things just went awry. Well, and if you look at, I don't want I hate to say it, but Barack Obama was a huge divider. He was the divider in chief. He brought a lot of things that were, I think, really pushed aside and we were making great strides against and brought them right back up to the surface.
That was the whole thing. He said he was going to fundamentally change this country.
Michelle said you're going to put away your traditions and put away all this stuff.
Listen, whether it's reality or perception for me, I believe government has caused the greatest problems.
Barack Obama.
We have more than just him, right? We have allowed our country to become the OK Corral. We've allowed,
and that was more justified than it is
right,
today.
we just let people do all these things. We hold nobody accountable. Go to Singapore and go rob somebody with a gun. You know why? You know why there's no crime? Because they cut your fucking hand off.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to bring this up.
Oh shit! He's going to his phone.
I'm going to the phone because this just sickened the shit out of me today, if I even have it. A man who was accused of killing a police officer in Houston
was let on bail.
Was just released on bail.
Yes.
By this woke piece of shit judge. What was her name? Unger. Judge Unger.
Probably a Biden appointee.
Okay. So we allow a man to kill a police officer, and some piece of shit white judge who's trying to make sure that she can be Mrs. Woke lets this guy out of prison.
Yeah.
2 days ago, I'm reading a story where a guy who not only killed a man who was homeless, but ate his fucking eyeballs.
Yeah.
Ate his eyeballs and ate other pieces of his body. Pleaded insanity. They put him in the hospital. They just released him out on the streets.
Yep.
Now you tell me what other country self-sabotages itself and then complains that there's murders and rapes and all this crazy shit going on, and we're the only country that would ever let somebody who kills a cop out on bail.
Yeah.
Okay, or a guy who eats your fucking eyeballs out, let him out of the nut house.
Well, look what Hochul's doing with the correctional officers.
I know.
It's disgusting. These people, these guys are getting us like the list of people that are assaulted is astronomical, and they don't pay a price.
No.
The criminals in jail.
The criminals run the.
They don't pay any price for the crimes that they commit while incarceration.
No. And here's the problem.
But she wants to throw them in jail and take away their health insurance.
Well, this is how much of a scummy state we live in, and the politicians who run it.
Well, he chose those words wisely.
Yeah, because I wanted to swear, and I don't know if my daughter's watching. Hi, Madison, just in case Daddy don't swear on podcast. They picked a time where they could say, oh, look at these correction officers, these bad son of a bitches. They just beat up and murdered a black guy. And they utilize that, right? Those correction officers belong in prison. I don't care. You don't
beat somebody to death.
You take a sworn oath to protect people, even if they're bad people. That's their job, right? So those people are going to go to prison. But don't try to utilize that all correction officers are bad because there's a few bad apples. And now you're sending like state police to their house, tell them if they don't come to work, they're going to be fired or arrested, or they're going to take their health care. I understand correction officers ain't supposed to strike. I get it. And maybe it's the wrong thing to do. Maybe they should be doing informational pickets, stand in front of.
Hey man, wasn't Hochul at a UAW rally for
Well,
striking?
but it's different, right? Public sector employees that
I'm
provide.
sorry, you can't speak
No,
out of both sides of your mouth.
No.
You can't say private sector's allowed to vote to strike,
Yes, you
and
can.
yet
Yes, you can. You can't imagine if the fire department all walked out.
then don't treat
and
the
your
fi-
wife
then-
died
then-
and
then
your
don't
kid
treat
died
them
in a
bad.
fire.
Then don't treat
Well,
them bad.
sometimes it's not just about treating bad, right?
No.
You let's just say you want more money. You can't look at. You have to be realistic here. I was a firefighter. I was the biggest union guy there was. I was the union president. We went on strikes. We went on pickets. We did all kinds of shit to get our voices heard. But we couldn't just walk off the job. Cops can't just say put down the guns and we're walking off the
Well,
job.
Hopa wants to bring in the National Guard.
Yeah, and correction officers probably can't just walk out of the jail. But there's a way to do it, and she could be a lot more respectful about it because if she is a big union gal that she says,
Again, I guess we're going to disagree on this one.
well, it's okay.
Let them let them strike.
You-
Sorry.
They are striking.
Good.
They are.
They are
Let them.
striking.
You wouldn't say that if your
Yes,
house
I
burned
would.
down. No,
Yes,
now
you know what?
shit.
And I
no,
think-
I would hold my elected representatives responsible
Well, what about
because
the
they
people
made
whose fault-
bad decisions for those firemen.
What if the Army walks off? Would you say it's okay for the United States Army to put down their guns and say we're not?
Well, that's a
gonna protect-
different.
That's
That's a
not-
different law.
That's
Why-
a
that's a
different.
different
That's a
law.
different.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
A law's a law, isn't
no,
it?
I'm
No,
sorry,
like
it's
they don't
different.
fall under the same laws as us.
No.
So actually, they can be.
But he just said
like
you
hung.
can't talk out of both sides of your face, right? If,
No,
if,
no,
if
no.
they-
The
But
military can be like hung if they. That's a
Yeah,
lie.
Tell me why.
because it's national defense.
Okay, so
you know
what
they're
about-
not they're
what
not.
about local defense.
Yeah, but what's the?
Cops can strike. I have no problem with it.
Well, they can't strike.
They should be allowed to
Well,
strike.
it's against the law.
It's collective bargaining, pal.
What's the law
No.
though that the military?
Because you know what happened? If Waterford Police decides to go on strike, county will come in until that's resolved, or state will come in.
Other states-
Well, then they do
Sure.
martial law.
Yeah, sure.
of all-
There's ways to
first
get
of all,
around
they
it.
don't-
She's trying to strong hand
Cops don't
these
have
people.
to strike and firemen don't have to strike because they have binding arbitration. That's the whole point. Do you know
Shouldn't
what that,
be.
You know what binding
I know binding
All right, so
arbitration.
binding arbitration means when you can't both agree, you go to in front of an arbitrator
Yes.
and he'll make the decision.
Yeah.
So that was given to you in lieu of going on a strike because firefighters should not be striking, cops shouldn't be striking.
It's a necessary.
Right, you just can't say, oh, the whole Albany Police Department can just walk out of Albany tomorrow. I mean,
So
that.
let's say for argument, let's take your argument. Okay, tomorrow morning.
I'm a big union
So
guy.
tomorrow morning, Albany County. Again, we're just throwing out names just because it's easy. Albany County decides, you know what, we have budget constraint. We're going to cut every police officer's salary by 50%.
They can't.
Boom. Well, why not?
because they have a contract.
Well, too bad. Well, we're doing that.
I understand.
So what happens is, I would have nothing wrong with them going on
Well,
strike.
they wouldn't go on strike.
They should.
They wouldn't have to because there's a process. They would file grievances or they would go in front of the court system. So there's.
But what I'm saying is, they should still. If the work conditions are so bad, which it seems like it is for the corrections officers, they should be. Now, it doesn't mean that the entire correctional facility, the entire correctional organization, but that prison guards go on strike. Absolutely, let them go on strike.
if there wasn't an avenue.
And I'm not a union guy. So
Well, I'm a big union guy.
I'm not.
But I'm also.
I don't believe in
understand
treating.
public safety,
I
right?
also I don't believe in treating people like shit either.
If there wasn't an avenue to solve and resolve those problems.
There isn't. It's stacked.
No, no. It's not stacked. I've won many arbitration cases. I've won many benefits that they tried to take away from us.
I'll let you guys keep this one going for a sec. I'll be right back.
Small bladder. Jesus Christ.
Holy Christ! This is the $2 seat I got.
You're lucky I didn't have to get by there.
But that, I would agree with you if they didn't have an avenue to go to. Then, but we'll have to differ on that because again, although I am the biggest union guy and I respect them and I want them to be successful, I also don't want people to get killed or die over a labor dispute. That's my position, and I think that's why the Taylor Law was written.
No, but okay. Let's. If Cohost decides to go on strike, all right, what would happen? Well, what happens? Troy would send firemen.
No, not necessarily, because they're-
well, that's what would happen because mutual aid would step in to
that's-
cover that. Nope, it hasn't happened because you have your philosophy that they shouldn't go on strike. If they happen to say we're going to go on strike, whether you like it or not, we're not showing up, and that's it. Well, what would happen is the Cohost would call mutual aid, and they would.
There's not a system in place where mutual aid can come over 4,000 times a year.
That's not the point. So it would force two things. It would force proper work conditions for the firemen or the corrections officers at this point. And I don't believe that not allowing people, employees, the final say, whether it's I'm leaving my job, I'm striking or I quit. You take one of those three away, you no longer have the power in this.
You're a public sector employee.
Sorry, whether
Well,
you're a public sector or not,
well,
you don't have the right to be taken advantage of and treated like
you
shit.
took an
Just
oath.
because
So
doesn't
when you
matter.
walk off that job, you go to jail.
Wrong. I think it's wrong.
Well,
I think it's wrong because what would happen, because and this is why we're in a predicament where the corrections officers are being treated like shit because there's no avenue.
no, that's not true. They're being treated like shit because the government decided to give all of the rights.
Yeah,
to the criminals.
so they're treated like shit,
Okay,
and they have
that's
no
not-
say.
That's not going to change for a strike.
Guaranteed it would.
No, it's not.
Guar-
because
just-
the state
just-
legislature has to change all those rules.
It's just like what Trump's doing now.
No.
Is saying tariff. All of a sudden, everything's changing. If suddenly every single correction officer tomorrow morning says, we are not coming to work effective immediately unless things change. Will people go to jail? Probably. Will people lose their jobs? Probably. But I can guarantee there will be emergency legislation session and things will be changed to see what's going on.
Do you think for 1 second you're going to threaten a bunch of politicians into doing
Guaranteed
something?
it would.
No, I've been involved for a long time. I
Because
guarantee it.
nobody has the
Yes, we
stones
have.
to do it.
We've done. Look at. I've done it. I've been on the picket lines. We've picketed Democratic picnics and Democratic parties where they wouldn't cross our picket line, but that didn't mean the next day we got what we wanted. I'm saying that I understand an informational picket. I understand an informational argument. I understand if all the correction officers go and go down to Kathy's house and picket in front of her house and scream.
But that doesn't do any good. Nothing happens.
But it does.
Nothing happens.
Because it
Why did the work where they work become so bad? Because nobody ever stood up for anything.
Why don't-
Oh, we'll have the occasional picket. We'll have this
No, I
protest.
look at this-
At the end of the day, they do. The government's going to do whatever the hell it wants to treat people
it's
the way
only
they
been
do.
the last few years where the
It's only going to get worse.
And that is what they're
And that's
striking
it.
against, right? Just workplace conditions.
Yeah.
well there were
It's not about money. It's not
No.
about.
So you tell me, okay, you're in the private sector. You've been in the private sector your whole life. If suddenly every single corrections officer says that's it, we're not going in tomorrow. Well, immediately there's a vacuum, so they'd be pulling people from the National Guard to fill this place in, and because they can't fill those spots indefinitely, there's going to be emergency meetings. What the hell's going on here? Why is this? We got to get these people back in there. Let's fix what's broken because the system's broken.
I guess until you
Same-
I guess until you have to live it, you wouldn't think that's how it's.
But it's the same thing with like the truckers. Remember when the truckers were going on strike?
Yeah, in
And-
Canada they took their paychecks away. They
Yeah.
froze their bank
Different
accounts.
place altogether.
I understand, but again,
But look what happens when you take away truckers. Like society literally stops.
Yeah.
well,
Who's guarding the nut house if they take away all the?
Well, the problem is you can't compare Canada to here. Because
Oh, I'm not.
Can-
I'm just saying.
No,
'cause we were
but
going to do it.
But I
here.
think if you had a huge trucker strike like that here,
They tried. They were going to do or doing something like that here.
but rules changed. The rules changed almost as soon as they wanted to do a strike. The rules changed.
Same thing with the dock workers. Remember that?
Yeah,
When the dock workers from Maine to Florida or Texas,
we're
it was
going to
like-
go on strike.
Here's what's gonna
and that changed before it could happen because they realized the repercussions of what would happen.
Yeah,
if I still remember my union business right, for every 1 day that you go on strike, you lose 2 days' pay, right? I will assure you this, because I know this for sure, because I've been to many pickets and many strikes and many disputes over labor. There's a vast majority of people who won't
closer to your mic.
There's a vast majority of people that won't walk out
True, agreed.
because they're not going to want to lose 2 days' pay. Not everybody's a strong union man, right?
Right.
Management people are not going to walk out. So although the jails probably won't be left empty because you'll have your people that won't leave, you'll have your management people, you'll put your police in there, whatever.
Sure.
My point is this: if I take an oath and raise my hand to protect people's lives, I don't think just because I don't like everything that's being done to me, I should have a right to just walk away and let people's life be put in danger that I promised to protect. I'm going to hold on to that because I've seen the devastation. I've seen what happens when the fire department used to have 15 guys working a day.
Well, there's your problem. What's wrong with the government today? The unwillingness to change or adapt.
Who?
Because government.
Yeah, I agree.
And you're a perfect example. Oh, I made an oath. Doesn't mean the oath is right. doesn't mean what's happening is right.
You
so,
made a personal oath. You as a human. It has nothing to do with
so,
government.
listen,
I promise.
if I went into this relationship saying I'm going to get A, B, C, and D, and all of a sudden A disappears, okay, I can deal with that.
But that's not why
B
you went in.
disappears, okay, I can. Now D's threatened. Well, I'm sorry. The oath I took, you've changed
That's
my
not-
environment.
Well, first of all, the environment ain't the oath you took. The oath that you took as a man.
No.
Yes, no, let me finish. The oath that you took as a man is
Disagree with
to
you there.
protect the people's lives of your city.
Based on the
Based on
condition,
nothing.
yes.
You don't even know the conditions because you don't even work there yet. You walk in, you get sworn in.
You know, you know that you know what the basic premise of the job.
You know you put out fires. You do.
Yes,
yeah.
but if suddenly the town or the city says, well, you know, we're not going to provide you with proper hydrants, or we're not going to give you trucks that run down the road. Now my life is in danger. Well, I didn't take an oath to put my life in danger. I came here to do a job. I came here. No. Listen, nobody goes into a job thinking, I'm going to die today because the city doesn't want to pay for my proper equipment.
Well,
do things happen? Do mistakes happen? Yes. But you have to be able to fight for your continuity of your job and safety.
I guess you don't understand what I'm saying. There's an avenue to take that fight without walking away from the.
There
people.
isn't
Yes,
because
there is.
because they've prevented you
There
from.
is.
They prevented you from fighting it because
No, they
you
didn't.
have arbitration. Arbitration doesn't mean it goes your way.
Well, if it doesn't go my way, it doesn't go my way.
Then
but
you
that-
quit.
Then you quit.
All of
Then
you can
Then
combine.
you're left with the same scenario.
Exactly. So you may as well fight. You may as well fight and go on strike.
Well,
That
you're
way it
gonna
changes.
lose. So if you fight and you lose your job, then what good is it?
Because you wouldn't lose your job.
You would lose your job.
Absolutely not. If
Bullshit.
everybody quit at once, it wouldn't.
Well,
They wouldn't fire everybody.
First of all, you're not going to quit. You got a job. You got a
If,
family.
if everybody goes on strike all at once, nobody lose a job.
think
I mean,
you're-
may have a couple, but I think things will be resolved a lot quicker than you
I
think.
guess we just have a difference what an oath is.
No, I
Yeah,
disagree.
no, I
with
think
that.
we do.
No,
I think we do. I think you're making an argument about, oh, poor me, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. Guess what? When I came on the job, there was 15 guys working every day. When I left, there was 5.
yeah.
Okay, so just there in itself put my life in a lot more danger than it was when I had 15 to help me, right? So unfortunately, things change. We fought the battle. I fought them battles. Didn't get enough equipment. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. File safety grievances. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you lose.
Well, essentially, I think what this
there's no
this
perfect.
particular event that we were talking about is literally a life and death sort of thing.
Yes.
I don't
These
know.
guys are getting the shit beat out of
Do
them.
you not think going to a prison with murderers is
Yeah.
a life and death every day?
But you'd think somebody would have your back.
Yes,
when it
exactly.
does happen.
And what's happening
Same
is
thing
within the last 5 years, suddenly your back isn't taking. You
honestly-
didn't take an oath for that.
I honestly don't know
No, I'm
what
sorry.
I don't know what their issue is.
I mean, it used to be like, it wasn't until they demonized cops
Well,
a handful of years ago.
Why do you think
With
so
the
many
George-
cops are leaving the workforce? So many cops are people are not joining to become because they're saying, yes, I'm willing to take an oath to defend the people of the town I live in, but I'm not going to take that oath knowing that the people behind me are not going to have my back when shit goes down.
That's why you're not a cop or a fireman.
No, I know enough of them.
Because that's not how they think.
That's exactly how.
No, how many do you know?
I know quite a few,
Let's call
actually.
them up and see if that's how they think.
Guarantee you. Why do you think people aren't joining the fire service
People-
anymore?
Come on, people.
Why do people leave the fire service early?
I've never
because
seen nobody's ever left, and the line to get in is 500 strong
I
for
could-
4 jobs.
bullcrap.
Bullshit.
Why do you think Troy has dropped their
That's because-
requirements?
I'll tell you why. Because people don't want to be paramedics. That's why Troy dropped their.
Why
paramedic-
is that?
Because it's very hard. It's a 2 years. They want
Yeah.
to be firefighters. What happened in the fire service is they turned it into the EMS service,
was a
and a lot of people said,
Well, that's
"Wait,
because one goes in the other. I
well,
agree
it
with
didn't before, right?
Yeah.
When I first came on, you were a firefighter. That was it. And as time changed, you had to become a EMT. And they were over in Troy. What they did is they created their own ambulance, and so
that. It's part of the fire department.
right, and they made it. Into,
Yes.
And so everybody had to then become a paramedic, and a lot of people are like, "This is not what I want to do," or I
People
would.
aren't good with blood and guts.
A lot of right, and so a lot of people left. But I can tell you that when the exams come out, There's people taking fireman jobs that have master's degrees in engineering. They're making $100,000 a year. They're working 2 days a week. They get lifetime health
Well, all right.
insurance.
Let me back up. Maybe the fire department's not the one we're talking about. I'm talking about police department. We were talking originally about corrections
I
officers.
support the-
They're having big problems with getting people into corrections. They're having problems with retention of corrections because they don't feel like they're supported.
Yeah, well,
And that's the problem.
I imagine corrections may have. I don't know. I know
I can
that
speak. I have family in corrections.
my whole family.
and,
I know
and
a
half of
couple
them
guys.
got out of there before they were within
I
their
mean,
time.
half of my family works up at the jail.
Yeah, and there's they
So,
burn out. They
you know-
the work conditions. They get out and they're threatened.
If I took you to the local jails, they're going to tell you they're making six figures. They're working all kinds of overtime.
Well, I had a friend that worked. I had two friends that work at county jail, and they are burned out.
Well,
and they hate it, and they don't
Some
feel like
people
they
are just
don't, they don't feel like their backs are had by upper management.
I don't think I can ever remember a time when I had upper management having my back.
But it's different
were-
too. Like you didn't have like what we have today.
Yes,
where
correct.
you have like this, people who are committing heinous crimes, and
Have more rights than you do.
and they're walking back out of
Right, but that doesn't fall back on the local government. That is
no,
Doesn't matter.
That's
It's
state.
still
that's,
the
that's-
same.
That's what we're saying. It's
No,
about the.
It does matter.
The
still the
governor.
same.
People ain't quitting their job in Cohoes as a cop. They're arguing, man, they're putting us in a bad way. We can't arrest people. It has changed, and
Sure.
I agree.
And that's a state thing.
And
too.
the problem
It's
is,
the
but
same-
the
it
problem
is.
is, if you can't fight the conditions you're working in, it'll never change. It'll only get worse.
Then you do walk
I
away.
guess-
and you are
Then you
left
walk
with
away and
nobody
you're
else.
left with nobody.
I guess
Nobody.
our argument is that because there's an end means to the fight, somebody will make the decision. Whether you like it or not is not the issue, right? The fact is, you have an avenue to go and bring your grievances and bring your arbitration.
I don't even know how they fix this.
But no, you know,
That's bigger than
you know how they fix it. People need to walk off the job and say we're not going
I do.
because the problem is the government has no reason to fix
But
it.
even
'Cause that
then-
means they got to put more money
That's not
into
going to
it.
fix nothing. That's just
Yeah.
going to leave a bunch of.
I'm just curious how they
Killers.
would even fix it, even if their grievances were met. Like, what is
The rules have to be changed.
what is the fix? Like, it's
The fix is having somebody with courage in
Yeah.
the government to
Yeah.
fix it.
Change-
Because I'm with you. That's the whole point. I guess maybe my argument was weak, but it doesn't matter if
you gave a good fight.
if everybody walks off the job, it doesn't change it. Somebody's got to take those.
Well, it's
jobs.
going to change because
It's
people
not.
people are like, well,
Or they just release 'em
because
into
the system
society.
because the system's going to fall apart and people are going to be held accountable. So they're going to change. There's going to be
It's not going to change.
Or
It's
go
not-
into like a private sector thing.
yes,
It's not-
until something is put a spotlight on it. Maybe this is the start of the spotlight because enough people are screaming and yelling, and it's becoming a problem that more people like you and I are like, what the hell's going on in corrections?
I think what's going to happen
And-
is eventually they're going to go back to work because they're going to be able to afford to lose the money. And when you start losing 2 days' pay for every 1 day you strike, that becomes very expensive.
And the health insurance.
And then when they finally say, you know what, either go back to work or we're going to fire you, we can handle these issues from sitting around the table, see if we can find some kind of common ground. The best scenario would be that
they need to change the
picketing-
rules.
the
They change the
picketing,
laws. Yeah.
the pressure you put on your local politician, maybe get you to the table and something changes. But New York State is a cesspool.
Oh, yeah.
And they should have known that this was going to happen, and they haven't.
But
So
but
although we
again,
have a disconnect-
until somebody complains and it's a drastic complaint like what's starting to happen now, there's never going to be a spotlight shined on it, and that's my point.
Yeah.
The government, the way public sector's grievances are met, there's really no emphasis.
Well, you know why it's an
There's-
unauthorized strike, right? Because the union doesn't believe that this is the best avenue because people will get fired.
because the problem is the union doesn't work for its rank and file.
Well, sometimes
the
they
other
do,
thing.
sometimes they don't. You ain't going to get that argument from me.
Yeah.
I've seen the failure of the unions, and I've been part of the leadership for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, they follow the money.
You know, I worked for a union that, for me, was
My
the
wife
best.
works for a union.
Well, I
yes.
worked for the best union as a rep for 15 years because they didn't donate one penny to politics. You get over to CSCA and you get over to Council 82 and PEF and all them, they're bought and sold
Well,
out.
political
Yeah,
action
they
packs.
become political. All they care about is can we get enough pay? We'll deal with the bullshit. The correction officers are in a bad way because the politicians have changed their paradigms to put the criminal both
Ahead
in jail,
of everybody.
right? Both in jail and out on the streets ahead of everything else. And you're right. I'm with you. I think they need to scream. I think they need to yell. I think they need to embarrass the government. I think they should be.
And how do you do that without striking?
Yeah,
You pick it. You do informational.
That's what
pickets.
they're doing, isn't
No, a strike means we're walking off the job.
I would walk off the job.
So what are they doing now? Like burning barrels out front?
Yeah, well, I think they're striking, saying that we're not going to go back to work.
I remember up the road here when they did that strike, and it was so
Momentum.
annoying. Yeah, it was so annoying trying to get to work every day as they
Well, see,
blocked the road.
that's what the union can do. Now, I don't know.
Annoy the public.
No, annoy the politician.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what.
Yeah, but the problem is here, though, the momentum
like I support
is,
them.
is,
but-
is the politicians were on the picketers' side.
That's a whole.
This you'll never see Paul Tonko with the picketers of the
Right. That's why they're phonies.
Corrections.
yeah
They're-
corrections.
They're phonies because on one hand they want to force a business
business to
right out
pay.
of the state because
Yeah.
they're paying.
See, the problem. I think the problem is, Sean. I'm looking. I mean, you and I are looking at it 2 different ways. You're looking at more of a public sector. I'm looking at a private sector.
Yeah,
Because I'm always been private sector. You've pretty much lived. A
I've
public
lived
sector
my
side,
whole life
You know,
in the public
so
sector.
for me, you know, my employers and my employees have the final say. If I don't give them a proper place to work and proper wages and proper benefits, they leave.
But
So I'm screwed.
but you
so
also-
I have to give them
There
what they
also
want.
comes a point that they can't push you past what you can afford.
Agreed,
Right.
and that's when you fire them or you get rid
That's
of them or
right.
you let them
So-
leave.
so-
but
and-
the problem
and-
is in the public sector, they can't do that.
Well, then the public.
So
sector-
your argument is the setup is wrong. There's no impetus for the government to fix the corrections officer's job because it's going to cost them more money. They don't want to spend more money.
So let me tell you,
And what is more money going to do to this?
I don't think.
No,
they-
or change
I don't
it.
think
Well,
they're
no,
looking-
no,
I think-
well,
I
no,
think
no,
it's
no.
literally-
More money meaning they're going to have to change the rules and the work and the work and how they adjudicate
do you
punishments. And it's going to cost more money.
Now, I could be talking out of school because I really haven't followed it. I'm retired now, right? So I'm really not.
You're a Florida man.
Yeah, your heart's in Florida, man.
I'm
Why are you
not
even
really-
discussing New York State stuff? You
I'm
can
not
talk about Ron
even-
DeSantis
I'm not even involved in
and how
in
Byron Johnson's going to be the next governor there.
Sanders' wife may run. Then what?
I heard that.
Lara Trump.
I heard that one too.
Yeah. I thought she was going to take
The,
I think-
Rubio's seat.
Rubio's
I
seat.
think I really think that DeSantis is so popular that his wife would probably win.
The problem is, though, Byron Johnson's pretty good too. though.
I think he's a really smart and he can articulate, but it's hard to beat somebody's wife who's like the most popular guy in
and
Florida.
she's a cancer
she's a-
survivor.
she's
and
good
she's a-
looking and she articulates well and
How do
she
you think Hillary got to where she is?
well she got hit with
Bill
the
was a
frying pan.
likable guy.
Jesus Christ.
Bill was really likable.
Hillary was
I
not
think-
like.
I think-
actually, out of all the Democrat presidents, I think Bill Clinton was probably one of the
He's
best
the
ones.
only
He was
listen.
cool. He was on Arsenio with the
So I got his
saxophone.
Yeah.
I got his book, and I got him to
Slick
sign it,
Willie.
right? And he's only signed like 50 books. Do you know that? 'Cause
Really?
He refuses to sign. He don't sign nobody's books. I happen to be the chairman of the Albany County Legislature. He was coming to Schenectady because they were supporting a candidate for Congress. No, it wasn't Schenectady. Where the hell was it?
Did he-
Gillibrand's seat.
What about when
I-
the Buddhist there when he was in Albany?
Who's the?
Oh, the Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama.
Oh yeah, I see
Dalai
the
Lama.
Dalai Lama.
He wasn't he here for that?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's Hillary.
he stops here. Yeah,
Yeah.
But I got Bill Clinton to sign my book at the.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. What,
Actually, if you
Had
if
some
you if
kind
you
of
look,
stain
I
job.
think that was probably. I can't believe I'm going to say this, and Ronald Reagan. I'm sorry, but I think government probably ran at its best during the Clinton years because you had a strong House Republican with Newt Gingrich, and you had Bill Clinton in the executive branch that was willing, because Bill Clinton was a triangulator. He wanted middle road the best he could, so he was willing to give Newt Gingrich some of what he wanted, and Newt Gingrich wanted that bad enough. He gave Bill Clinton some of what he wanted, and the government worked
Well,
to,
Bill
mo-
was-
to,
Bill
to
was-
some extent.
But then we got NAFTA and we got all the.
Well, NAFTA was under Reagan.
Bill.
Was it?
Yeah,
well,
Reagan,
it was under-
Reagan,
it was under
Reagan,
both of
Reagan,
them, right?
Reagan, and
Reagan,
Mulrooney
and
in
then-
Canada.
Yeah,
Because remember, then there was Bush one, then there was Clinton.
Clinton was a good politician.
Clinton was good.
He knew how
He was
to
a talker.
play the game.
Yeah.
Now you're a big Ronald Reagan fan,
I was. He was my political enlightenment guy.
so I'm just going to rewind something, right?
I hope I can answer.
Well, Ronald Reagan fired like 25,000
Air traffic controllers. Yeah.
because they went out on strike.
Okay.
And so it is possible to say to the whole. I mean, he fired almost every one of
Yes.
them and said, "You
But
want."
what happened out of that?
Nothing.
That's
Nothing.
not
The air
true.
traffic
A lot of
controllers-
things
nothing
changed
happened.
after that.
Come
Yes.
on, tell me what changed.
The hours they were putting in, the staffing was changed. A lot of
Look
things
it up and
changed.
read what
Yeah,
changed.
a lot of things changed that came out of
Nothing
that.
changed because
Yes.
one of the guys from Cohoes was an air traffic control. They didn't bring any of them back either. They just hired. all
No,
of
he
them.
hired. He said you either get back to work or you lose your job, and he fired them all. But
and-
what happened? The military came in and took over for a short amount of time. They rehired. They got new people.
But-
But a lot of the rules changed at that time.
Yeah, I don't think they did, but we can look that up for the next show.
We shall.
We'll argue it out then. but I personally don't think air traffic controllers should be able to go on strike.
I don't think you should force the air traffic controller to work 80 hours a week.
Either do I, but you can't.
Well, that's just
no
unsafe.
one. Group,
Well, again, but
no
where's
one
the government's want to change that?
No one group of people should ever shut down the whole country, and that's the whole point. They were told, "Listen, we'll work through these grievances."
Hold on. Okay, so he went through and he fired all of them.
Yeah, he did.
I don't recall any planes that stopped flying.
Oh, they stopped for a while. Yeah, they did.
There were planes that were still going up in the air. It may not have been as smooth sailing, but planes were still in the air because military took over for a short amount of time.
Well, they couldn't take over every airport.
No, but they took over and the planes still flew. But the point is, it did bring about certain changes.
Elon is, I think, Atlantic City is the first city that they're testing this.
I actually
out
have a problem with
with
it.
the Starlink thing.
I have a problem with that.
What's your problem? With
I think he's too heavily invested.
He's
I agree his stuff is the best. It's the most amazing stuff. But I don't know. It's like a Starlink, Starnet. You know, I don't know.
But it's a and even then people are all up in arms about
Skynet. I was thinking of Skynet.
What's that?
Terminator, first Terminator,
Oh,
Skynet.
Jesus.
Start of the machine.
Well,
You know,
you know about the woman that wrote that in The Matrix, right?
no.
I think Elon Musk
Supposedly,
is it's a
Yeah,
weird
no.
situation, right? Because he builds rockets for the United States. Because
He's really heavily invested, and all of a sudden he has control over a lot of stuff. I don't know. I think that
I don't know. Does he have control?
no. The media frames that he has
They
control.
call him president.
Yeah, because what happens ultimately, he reports to the president. The president says, "Fire them or don't fire
That
them."
serves at
And
the
the problem is, I've always said this many times. Donald Trump, as much as I think he's a great president, the man does not know how to speak,
No, he's not a good.
and he can't argue properly. He can't stick to facts. He's all over the place. He's kind of like our podcast in 2 minutes, but it's
Our podcast is supposed to be like that. We're not professional.
no. I love our podcast, but anyways, so the problem is that he should have come out and said, "Whoa, I'll put it right." When he has one of his big media pressers, listen, Elon Musk fires nobody. I fire people. He comes back to me and says, "This is where the inefficiency is," and I make the decision.
Yeah.
But why doesn't he say that? You know why? Because
I'm-
Donald Trump likes the drama.
I'm with you. I'm with you,
he
man.
draws
Matter of
he
fact-
draws.
spotlight.
Yeah.
He draws the spotlight where
Matter
it
of
needs to
fact,
be.
I probably would be saying to somebody else, Elon, put together a team of people that you would use. I would get one of the cabinet members and have him hire that group of people. Don't even really associate Musk with it. And
background.
Then say to Musk, look, I want you to review each one of these at the end of each week.
Yeah.
But by putting him out in front,
I think it's just bad. It gives it gives Trump's detractors a lot of fodder.
well, it gives him an argument, right? Oh,
They're going to argue anyway.
They're all going to argue.
They're gonna
You're
argue.
making it easy.
I think you're, you know what? I hate to agree with you, but you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right because even I,
Why would you hate to agree with me, Sean?
because I like the banter with you. Instead. You're more fun that way.
It's good content.
I think that it just makes the appearance that a guy who's making $8 billion a week off the federal government is now firing people who are making $50,000 a year. And, is anybody looking at his contracts? And then the people that got fired were once looking at you, and then you fired them when in fact he probably didn't. But it just makes everything fuzzy, man.
Speaking of Elon Musk, did you see what's going on in Canada with Elon Musk? No. So there's a petition in Canada to revoke his Canadian citizenship.
Big deal.
How stupid
He'll
is
just
that?
buy it.
How stupid is that?
Well, how stupid is them changing the Americano to the Americana coffee? They crossed it out in all the coffee shops, and they call it the Canadian Americano or something.
Well, so the funny thing is,
Americano.
it came out. The Canadians are all up in arms. You know how they're all like, "Oh, Tim Hortons is the best." It's a freaking Canadian American company. It's owned by Burger King. So now they don't know what the hell to say.
Once again, it's not all Canadians because most of them don't give a shit. It's a small group of Canadians. It's just like the United States. Half the people don't give a shit. Half the people
But again,
walk around in the front.
why would Trump do what he's doing though?
And even then, it goes back to
why
the
would
media.
you insult our best neighbor and say, "Oh, we're going to make you the 51st
he
state"?
wants-
Stupid.
The thing about Trump that I
He
hate.
wants to awaken their population.
I know.
I think he
still.
wants them to grovel at his feet. That's what he wants. No way in the world does he want their population.
They're
left.
so
he
left.
doesn't
It's like
want 'em.
Oregon and California.
He wants the people to rise up and take back their country again.
Yeah, but the problem is he's making enemies of America. That's the problem. So you
I
have
don't-
41 million people up north that think we're a bunch of assholes now.
But I don't think it's a whole
Not
bunch.
that
I
they
think there's a
thought-
lot of
I
people
don't-
that
I
agree
don't
with us.
think-
But again, it's that TV. That,
Have
that
you
makes
have
think
you
that.
watched
I'm not from
have you
Canada.
watched the
Yeah, I see
the Hockey
that.
Four
But
Nations?
that's a small group, right?
Not in Canada. It's
No, I'm
not.
saying that's a small group of people at the stadium, and they're not standing. Look at I don't know.
Listen,
You know what I know about Canada? We used to go up to the strip clubs and drink Triple X Bador when I was 16.
It wasn't Bordeurs Molson. Get it right.
Molson Bador, wasn't it?
No. That's like saying
What was the
Miller Ultra. Come on.
I don't remember. I just remember
It's
it was
Molson
Triple X.
Molson Triple X.
Okay, there is Triple X.
I've gotten funny story on Molson Triple X. So I went to a boat race. Yeah, I went to the boat races up there, and my cousin decided she was going to take me out to Montreal. And we went out and hung out, and that was the beer of the time. It was probably mid '90s. That was when it came out, and I was pounding these freaking. They were good. So I get back to my aunt's house, and one of the cookies I really like, they're called Fudgios. They're a chocolate cookie with a chocolate fudge inside. So I'm like eating them like crazy because I was freaking half drunk. Well, about 2:00 in the morning, that Triple X came back up with those Fudgios all over my tent, on my freaking sleeping bag, all over the place. It looked horrible in there.
It was strong beer. That's why
It
we
was
had the
wicked
can.
strong beer. At the
Here-
time, it was like, I think it was like 9%. And in those days, that was a big beer.
Here it
I
was
like
only
Molson,
3%.
Yeah.
And you go up to Canada, and it's like 8 or 9%.
Yeah, for Triple
And
X.
the girls, when they danced in Canada, they took all their clothes off. So all the young boys would drive all the way up to Canada.
Club Super 6.
Yeah. Well, they were really pretty, and that was
Never been there.
That's the name of the place.
that was
Yes.
the place to go. Yeah. Well.
Around St. Catherine Street in Montreal.
Yeah. St. Catharines Street.
Never been there.
We had a lot of good times.
Never had to.
So
You know, people just want you could drink up there at 18,
at 18.
and everybody here actually. I always missed it. I'm 57 years old, and I missed it. It went from 18 to 19, 19 to 21. The only time that I could drink when I was 19 is when I was in the Navy
Jeez,
on base.
What a kick in the balls, though. You
Yeah,
know, you
really.
Keep chasing.
It
that
didn't really
number.
matter because I was probably drinking in the bars when I was 16.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I used to say, "Son of a bitch," if they asked me for an ID. And then when I was in the Navy, you could drink on base at 18. I wonder if that's still the case.
I don't know.
Because, you know,
You would think that would make
well,
sense.
the argument that we made earlier, right, is that you can go to war,
Yeah.
but you can't drink beer. And at 18, even though it was 19 everywhere, at 18 you could still drink on the base. And I wonder if that was, I never even thought about that. I wonder if that's why.
Well, if anybody knows, please comment. So, funny story about the whole Musk and Canada and stuff. So, as you know, we're getting rid of the penny. And that's the new
2-cent
thing,
penny?
the penny.
They
And
lose
so in
billions
Canada,
on it.
years ago, they got rid of the $1 bill and made it a coin. It's called a loonie up there. So they had just changed to that back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And my buddy and I said one of those nights we went up and gets a bunch of change. And we check into a restaurant or a bar, and there's a coat check. And my buddy goes like this. He goes, throws his change in the jar, and they all like gave a big face. And we thought nothing of it. We walk out, grab our jacket, and leave. He goes, "God, where's all my fucking money? Well, he didn't realize that all those fucking loonies were dollars. He gave like $16 tip. He's like, holy shit. I'm like, those were all dollar bills. He goes, there are dollars? I thought they were quarters. That was kind of
That's
funny.
awesome. That's awesome. So if you go to the laundromat, right, I had to take a bunch of big stuffy blankets. I
Right.
put them in my...
Stuffy blanket.
Yeah, so I take it to the laundromat. You put the money in it, and it sends out dollar coins.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't even know they had it.
Oh, here they do here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put them. I have them in my
Yeah, so
machine.
now every once in a while, I just go throw a 20 in there, and I just want the coins.
That used to be nice when like you go to the car wash and get like the sack of Julias.
Yeah.
Which are worth money now.
So listen. You go to LePage's Market.
My friend
He
told me
always
it's a
has
great place.
$2 bills there.
Does he?
So yeah, because he goes to the bank and always gets straps of $2 bills because he gives those as change. So if you want to have fun with your granddaughter, go there and get get some change for $2 bills.
Tony's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Great family. Great
Yeah.
host family.
Do you know that he's the largest beer sales guy in the area?
Well, I know what he is also.
Yeah.
He's the biggest seller of lottery tickets
Beer and lottery.
and
tickets.
has the most winners, bigger than every
Well, you know,
Stewart's.
you know what's right up the road from him? Troy Cohoes Housing Authority. I wonder why that's a correlation.
What's that?
Cohoes Housing Authority is right up the road from him.
Well, that probably helps. Remember, I told you about those ZB cards. They sell them at to the lowest bid or the highest bidder.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the guy with the guy who's selling nickel bags there, he comes down with the.
Well, he said he has the card reader for the EBT for his nickel bags. Well, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes here, so I think it's a good time to wrap it up. When do you guys want to do this again?
Whenever
Every
you,
Thursday at
if
8?
you ever
Every
invite
Thursday
me,
at
if you
8.
invite me again, I'll come again.
Thank
I'm
you.
down.
Come again. No
can
happy endings here, though.
I think this is a happy ending.
No soup party.
Everybody have a great week. Enjoy it. Thank you for tuning. I hope you had as much fun as we did, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. Ciao.
Peace.